Right, recording is on.
All right. Welcome, everyone. This is our Vision Whitefish meeting for the hazard section of the growth policy. It's August 27th, 2025, and we're at 6 o'clock now. So we will begin with general public comment. And I believe we have one member of the public present and then likely more online. Do we have anybody online? No. You're the star, Richard. General public comment. Or do you want to wait until the hazards public comment, which is coming up soon?
I have no general public comment, but I do have comment on hazards.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. All right.
Except one of the, I want to compliment Alan because he is so responsive to emails that I send to him and gives me full explanation of where he agrees and where he doesn't. So
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Much appreciated. I don't hear a lot of positives, so thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Alan. All right, so we'll move on to the hazards section discussion now. Alan, did you do a presentation? You don't have to.
No, I mean,
Before.
no, because my understanding is we're just revisiting these, and these are the, I mean, some of these I haven't seen yet, so
Okay,
I'm looking.
sounds good. Okay, so we will go to public comment then. So back to you, Richard, on hazards.
It'd be easier for me to talk to all of you if I could come up to the.
Come on into our
Is that all
circle.
right?
Sure, sounds good. Yeah.
You will be sitting on the out.
Here's your squeaky seat.
Hello. For the record, Richard Hiller, 104 Fifth Street. Comments, public comments on hazards. The first thing that, and maybe I missed it somewhere, but I did not see a discussion on the risk of toxic spills in the rail yard. And because our schools are within, all of our schools are within a half a mile of that potential hazard. So, and maybe that's something to add later on. Going to now page 1. And again, Alan did a great job of incorporating almost all of my suggestions. But if I go to, sorry, I'll just go right to historic fire suppression practices on page 2. And if I come down 4 lines, fire suppression has led to, and I would add, unnatural accumulation of woody biomass. If that
Say
please,
that again, where,
it's on page 2.
of increasing what?
Uh,
Unnatural?
yeah, fire suppression has led to an unnatural accumulation of woody biomass. Get rid of increasing. Delete that.
I'm not following, Richard. Where are you?
On page 2,
Third sentence.
third sentence under historic fire suppression practices.
The third sentence in that paragraph.
Starting
there. Is that right up there? Look on the screen.
Interesting to see that. Yes, I think that's it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But is that something this group is okay with?
Unnatural accumulation.
I don't understand what that means.
Well, the way it reads now, fire suppression has led to an accumulation of increasing woody biomass in forested areas, yada, yada, yada. And what I'm trying to point out is fire suppression has led to an unnatural accumulation of woody biomass.
So in other words, talking about cutting down or thinning the forest for fire suppression.
No, I'm talking about what's accumulated, and the fire suppression has allowed for this accumulation. It's not natural because fire is natural to the landscape.
Yes. That's not what I said, unnatural woody biomass. So let me clarify what that means.
Unnatural accumulation of woody biomass.
Are you talking about this fire suppression, the policy of suppressing fires on public land as a whole?
Yeah,
Okay,
What, I mean, for clarity, what is the suppression? You're not talking like the state goes out and defends. That's stuff for fire reduction, but a lot of times they leave it lay.
You're
Or
saying
Federal land
the
does,
fact that there
so
isn't
the
fire.
state piles it up and and burns it to remove it, whereas the federal government, and that reason some of these forests around here just leaves it lying for timber.
I guess the, whether it's natural or unnatural is. I'm ambivalent about it.
I just think we, in some of them, we have to explain what techniques they use for fire suppression, because otherwise it doesn't really.
It's not the technique that you're talking about. You're talking about the lack of fire because we suppress fires. Is
yes,
that correct?
yeah.
Yeah, so not a technique, not a.
I'm not talking about technique or anything. I'm just saying that
the policy of fire suppression?
The
Is
act
that
of.
the act of suppressing fires over the historical, because that's the subject here, historical fire suppression practices,
Oh, I see.
has resulted in this unnatural accumulation of woody biomass.
I would agree.
Well, I just wondered, the natural state would be old growth from, say, 300 years ago, and you would have had a lot of woody biomass on the floor of the forest at that time.
Not necessarily.
Given that, yeah, I don't object to it too much. I just don't, I'm a little uncomfortable with unnatural.
And I won't get into the discourse on forest practices and fire and various timber types, but this is a fire environment that we live in. And lodgepole pine
Right.
is mature at 80 years and burns down at 150.
Or falls down.
Right. So the issue is, if there had not been the fire suppression, the woody biomass that hasn't, would have been burning. It has not been because it's been suppressed. So I think it is an accurate thing that fire suppression has led to an unnatural, natural would have been burned, increasing woody biomass on the forested floors. And I think that's a fair statement.
It's just the lack of regular fires has led to that, and it
Yeah.
can't all the fire suppression necessarily.
Right, okay. But your sentence here is, fire suppression has led to, you're saying, fire suppression has led to an increasing woody biomass in the forested areas.
He wants to take out increasing.
I know,
Okay.
but what I'm suggesting is the sentence talks about fire suppression activities.
I agree.
Okay, so I'd say unnatural is probably the right word. For me, anyway. I move to make the change. Does anybody else agree?
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Done, change made.
Okay.
Thank you, Rick.
Moving right along, city Whitefish, and under Whitefish and fire risks, the city of Whitefish is surrounded by forest lands and mountains. Then the next sentence, some locations in Whitefish are especially susceptible to fire. And then I would insert right there, due to poor accessibility, steep slopes or steep terrain, ample fuels, and go and just continue the list there. And strike and have and insert due to.
So agreed.
So,
Especially susceptible to fire due to poor accessibility, due to, again, steep terrain, ample fuels. Is that what you want to read?
I.
right, so second, do.
Yeah, I think it's on the board. You guys get it. That's right.
Yeah, I struck the second bit too.
Okay.
Susceptible to fire due to poor accessibility, steep terrain, it's a list.
Yeah,
Okay.
good, I'm good with that.
All right.
Anybody opposed?
Make the change.
Okay. All in favor?
Says yes.
Yes.
All right,
I'm
I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
Oh,
We're all
you're,
refraining from.
everybody's saying yes, 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 so let's keep pushing forward.
Okay, I don't want to take any more of your time, but I think it's important to get this chart as best we can, for this time around. The catastrophic fires section that comes, sentence after that last one are started by natural events such as, and then lightning was in parentheses.
Wait, where are we?
The next.
The same paragraph?
Yeah, whitefish fire and fire risk.
The new sentence on fourth.
Oh, all right.
If you come down 6 lines. Beginning with causes.
The line,
Oh, human causes?
Yes,
With the parentheses, arson, unintended fires, escapers, that one.
yes, that one.
Yep.
I would add fireworks to that list.
anybody opposed?
So maybe human causes, arson, unattended fires, escape prescribed fires, and
And
fireworks.
Mhm.
All right, everybody okay with that? Raise your hand.
And then I could not come up with a good way to finish that, and it says, or a combination uprooted or broken trees hitting power lines in a poorly maintained power line right of way.
Such as,
That's okay. It's
Or item causes, 'cause I don't think that's necessarily a combination.
well, that's a combination of natural and human. So that's what it means by combination.
So I left that one for you folks,
That's okay.
but it didn't make, it didn't read well for me. Page 3. Wildland urban interface, WUI. Look at the end of that first paragraph. And the, next to the last line, structures, locational restrictions. Everybody with me?
Mhm.
Vegetation management and emergency access. And then I would say, and egress standards. I would add the word egress.
Everyone in favor? Okay. Change made.
The next paragraph, the last sentence, certain types of building types, such as single family and duplex residential are exempt from the landscape regulations. Does this mean, and this is for you all to argue and think about, does this mean triplexes and quadruplexes are not?
I think it's because in zoning code, single family or duplexes and single family homes have to be treated the same. And then outside of that, and correct me if I'm wrong,
That's correct.
outside of that, they can be treated differently, but duplexes have to be treated the same.
State law says we have to treat single family and duplex the same.
Okay,
So that's why that's in there.
thank you.
So how does that relate to it being exempt from landscape regulations?
Because we do not, it's been long clarified that our landscape code is not going to apply to single family residential. That's a way above my head council policy decision.
So. Query. Given this is fire suppression and hazards. It would seem to me. It would be fair to reference in here that. The code should address. Fire issues even with landscaping, even on single family and duplexes.
We have,
We do mention the WUI code in here, the WUI building code. We have subdivision WUI regulations that regulates that.
Okay,
yeah, we
And I
have
talked
things
about that,
within the required in our building code. However, there's, under state law,
We
they
can't enforce
limited portions of the WUI code in our
Right.
code, which means we can only do it at the building code level. We can't force things after construction.
Right, so we can only tell them what they have to do with the building permit, and state law says you are not allowed to tell them how they have to maintain it.
What is the,
Even for public health and safety?
For
I didn't write it,
residential
I didn't vote for it.
homes, there's some program
I
that
get it, but
gets
so is
grant
that what we're
funding
fighting?
for single family homes and teaches people fire methods, do you know what that is?
That's fire safe flathead,
Okay,
does some of that.
so
and-
should we reference that in here and say single family homes are encouraged to
Yeah.
follow fire safe flathead?
I mean,
Pretty sure I have quite a bit about, I mean,
Yeah,
I didn't know I was walking into this, but I think I have quite a bit in there about fire safe flathead and what they are, who they do, and how homeowners can be involved.
I'm just saying if we should.
And they're
have
getting,
that.
we're working with a
Okay, so
Montana
there's
Electric to put
there's an
together.
opinion in here that we should lobby the state legislature to change the limitations on WUIs.
Which would be what,
So that's an
Richard
opinion
was talking
that our planning board may adopt. Here, we could adopt an opinion that, single families should not be exempt from landscape regulations. It'd be our opinion, just because the city council has a different opinion, doesn't prevent us from recommending a change. So if we want to, we can recommend a change there.
What sort of wording would you?
I mean, stating it this way, certain types, as such as single family duplex are exempt. I mean, it seems to me that just locks it into the plan, right? So that's probably something we don't want to do. So to the extent that we can recommend, that city council, what?
Yeah, we
Right,
recommend.
how would you,
city
what would you
council,
agree?
remove the exemption for single family duplex residentials from the landscape regulations.
So you wanna put together landscape standards that apply to every single family home in the entire city limits to
that
tell
would
them what kind of
blow up
landscape.
big time.
Or is it?
I think we're just talking about hazards.
This is just talking about landscape code.
I'm not
It's not
sure,
talking about hazards. All it's mentioning right there is our landscaping code requirements.
I'm not sure the legislature will allow us to
What
do
are
that.
the other kinds of, like triplexes and quadruplexes
Like
are
our,
subject to?
our WUI codes aren't in our landscaping ordinance. That's a building code thing.
And it's in our subdivision regulations too.
And you,
Subdivision, right?
and you said that's because it has to be in the building code, because the state won't allow it.
There's some language in the movie code. I talked about it in here. I'm sorry I don't have it memorized because I didn't know this conversation was happening tonight, so I didn't have time to get, but I did write some stuff in here. Our subdivision, basically what I said in here, and I'm paraphrasing, you guys probably have read this more recently than me, is that, the state prohibits us from that in the building code, but the state does not prohibit that in the subdivision code, and I have a comment in here about that. Richard probably knows it better than I do now about what I wrote.
But again, with the subdivision regulations, they only apply to, up until final plat, and then
Oh, here it is right here. These real estate requires kind of building permit, but I'm trying to get to the part that, the building standards, okay, so we're talking about the WUI. The city of Whitefish has adopted the 2021 International WUI Code and created WUI subdivision regulations. These regulations include building materials requirements, that's, the building code. Vegetation management plans, defensible space, restrictions on building on greater than 30% slope and access requirements, and that's part of the subdivision regulation WUI standards. Okay, the building standards are applied at the time of building permit or building construction. If the state of Montana prohibits the city from further enforcement of building code maintenance, these preemptions do not appear to apply to the WUI subdivision regulations. So we do have some stuff in our WUI subdivision regulations about defensible space. Are they being enforced? Is
Well, it's all-
another question.
subdivision can only be enforced up until final plat, and you sell the lot to somebody, then it's up to that individual property owner to continue to maintain it. And that's where the state has said that we can't force people to maintain their property, and maintain defensible space with building code or subdivision. But, again, I was mentioning earlier, didn't get to finish my sentence, but statewide, there's a group of different planners and firefighters and et cetera that are putting together best practice standards that they're gonna have for all the communities and hope to eventually bring some of this stuff to the state legislature to be able to try to adopt better standards. But right now, we're kind of hamstrung on what we can do, especially for single family homes.
So,
So perhaps here we just bookmark
Yes.
this.
it is recommended, do we make a reference that to what's going on, David, that we need to
I mean, this is just an explanatory paragraph explaining what we have done as a city.
Right,
We adopted the WUI codes, we created a
Okay.
WUI subdivision regulation.
because so
We talked about
so
that.
this is status quo. You're saying
Yeah.
that this paragraph talks about where we are today,
Uh-huh,
not where need to go.
yep.
Okay. So but we ought to, is it consistent, David, with where we are in this thing in terms of the plan and for hazards?
Is
To
there-
identify that we need, that's an area of, that needs to be focused on, and whether it's participation through the state, whatever it is, group or.
Right, is there a goal and policy in this that talks about continuing to work with state and other agencies and municipalities to, better adopt?
Continue active participation in fires, say Flathead. Develop regulations for future subdivision development in areas identified in the community welfare districts as being high to very high wildfire risk. Adopt requirements for wildfire defense space standards and subdivision regulations. Include firewise construction standards, including all these things into state to supplement the gaps in state building code standards. Promote wildfire education, prevention and preparedness. Support legislative efforts to reduce state limitations on the building code.
Yeah, so we have, that's a lot
lot
in there already as far as,
Okay, Okay,
our goals and policies.
all right, I'm comfortable with that in terms of where we are. If we're talking status quo here, I think that's fine. And then since we've got goals that are set, basically we're gonna deal with that gap, I think that's a good thing.
It brings up the next question, or part of that question though, and that is when we're talking about subdivisions, if those subdivisions are under the control, if you will, of HOAs, then you could start inserting those as requirements in the HOAs,
In the covenants.
in the covenants, the CCNRs.
I mean, we can put plat notes, but we don't regulate covenants.
Yeah, we don't enforce covenants we can require
But
an
you,
HOA to do that, but we really don't, I don't know how much teeth we have, so it's more of an Andy question.
Would it be-
Force an HOA to follow its own rules. So we don't, as a city, we do not enforce covenants for private
no,
subdivision.
I understand that, but when when the city approves a subdivision, it has to come with CCNRs.
Mhm.
And I think there's the opportunity for the city to ensure that any of the construction, the fire requirements or best practices are in those CCNRs.
As a condition of approval?
I'd have to go look at how our subdivision code reads. We do have some language in there right now. Similar language, I'm not exactly.
We have developed regulations for future subdivision development in areas identified in the community welfare district as being high and very high, so wouldn't that would be something similar to that.
We could include requirements for HOAs.
We have plat, promote wildfire education, prevention and preparedness. This may include, but is not limited to buyer beware plat notes in areas identified as high. So that's H, promote wildfire education, prevention and preparedness. This may include, but is not limited to buyer beware plat notes in areas identified as high fire risk and firewise handouts with the issuance of building permits.
That's just the buyer beware platinum, not a
So-
requirement.
Can we put, it seems to me that, okay, we think that would theoretically cover it. Do we want to say e.g., for example, require HOA, CCNRs to include references to firewise practices and maintenance? Something to that effect? Does that make sense?
But I just wanna look in our subdivision regulations, what we already have in there, but.
Well, G, just above H, is compile a list of local or of active local homeowners associations from neighborhood associations and encourage their working together to become, so, yeah, we can add an encouragement at the beginning of the HOA.
Can I speak?
Yeah.
The idea of a firewise community is, and that's a trademarked organization. And to be firewise, you can't just say the whole city's gonna be firewise. Within the city proper, various neighborhoods could become firewise, and you could make subdivisions firewise. But there are certain size limitations. That's why for a firewise community, in terms of the numbers of people that are in that.
So that's an appropriate thing to apply to an HOA or a neighborhood
Absolutely.
to
Yeah.
recommend that.
An HOA could say we will be a firewise community.
So we have that.
There are a lot of
at G here.
responsibilities that come with that.
So should we add to G, HOAs should require firewise standards in their CCRs?
As a condition of plat approval. I mean, that's where you can be able to do it, right?
It wouldn't be with plot approval, the plots would be already approved when the HOAs are doing their covenants.
It should probably be its own standalone, not, because A is basically talking about compiling a list.
Right,
Maybe we
okay.
could add on to that. It could be something where, you know, you could amend the subdivision regulations. I just looked it up and I didn't see anything specific about that. Or look at adding requirements in the subdivision regulations for HOAs to continue firewise and defensible space maintenance.
That would be
As part of their, the only thing about HOAs is that stuff that they do is primarily on community space, not necessarily in the individual property owners, but they
Oh, no,
they could have some things in their HOA standards that would require each individual property owner
I think they're pretty
to maintain that.
heavy-handed on individual
Well, they-
property.
You gotta have a chair on the front porch.
Yeah,
And your grass cannot be longer than.
And they're, yeah,
okay,
Yeah.
so,
Oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
You can't under state law require certain types of building materials though, is that right?
You can't,
You can within the subdivision, however,
I mean, I think that'd be, technically we'd be requiring it. I think we can encourage HOAs to require that stuff, but we can't tell somebody how to build their house, what materials to use through the subdivision approvals.
so you just said consider
I
amending
wonder
the
about that.
subdivision.
HOAs do it.
HOA does that, but that HOA, you know, they come in when the subdivision is done and they bring those things to us. We don't tell them how to write them, other than when it comes to things like, you know, there's city requirements in there that are part of our code that they add, like the noxious weed stuff that we put in there and other things. But when it comes to, you know, forcing, because we'd be forcing whoever's buying that lot to build according to a certain standard using certain materials, which again, the state law does not allow us to do that. So, I mean,
And
again,
you're
I
sure
think
about
it's,
state law, because it's my impression that other states do allow the
I mean, like,
requirement.
you know, the city council could
Material.
look, you know, if people refuse to approve a subdivision that didn't include those types of standards. Again, that's where Angie would have to weigh in
So
on
can
that
we,
stuff. I just don't know what legally that we can do that or not. It's not something that we've explored,
let's
but-
write it.
but it could be something we
And
can
then
put in
if
there.
Angie says no, then we can amend it,
Right.
but we may as well write something now.
Yeah, I would too. My thought was, let's add this in here for, and since Angie's not here, if there's any question about it. But it's important, you know, I think it's important. I think this council would think it's important.
The other
I think
aspect-
The community thinks it's gonna be important.
The other aspect is some of the, like, for instance, putting in tempered fireproof glass on a building is like 10 times the cost of regular glass, so that adds an extreme expense to development, and there's other ways of doing fire suppression than just building materials.
Sure.
If you have defensible space, if your roof, you know, there's fire suppression systems that you can get that
Right.
spray biodegradable stuff. They use it in California. Only one home was lost out of like 90 that has this fire suppression system. They spray a foam over the property. So there's other things that can work, not necessarily just the building materials.
This fire,
So I mean, I think like forcing someone to spend, you know, 30% more on their house construction, I think would be difficult. you know.
I thought here we were talking about landscape regulations, not building materials.
Well, I mean, there's a whole host of things that people can do to make their houses more fireproof. But it's still like the one house that burned in California, they had the fire suppression system, they did everything right. But the fire actually came through and went into their house and burned it from the inside out.
Right.
So, I mean, sometimes there's nothing that'll
Agreed.
work.
On the other hand, doing nothing means that everything burns, so.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on how heavy handed we wanna be when it comes to single family
Right.
homes and.
Right now, I mean, I would like to go all the way with even making reference to building materials. But right now, I'm really more concerned about things like landscaping and maintenance of it, and, for example, fencing that is so incredibly dangerous and such a wick. I mean, those kinds of things, I think we do have an ability to regulate. We know that homeowners associations regularly regulate that. They decide whether you're gonna have a fence at all.
So I mean, here's what our current subdivision code says.
Sure.
It talks about, wildland urban interface, so high fire hazard areas. And it lists what those are, the design of subdivisions proposed in those areas, subject to what wildfire hazard need to consider, subdivision layout, access, signage, vegetation management, and homeowner education. The subdivider must provide a detailed site map, including all fire protection features, meet the following standards. Fuel mitigation for each lot, the building envelope has to be established with defensible space. Has to be based on the defensible space guidelines, most current Montana Department of Natural Resources conservation guidelines. Then number two, a vegetation management plan has to be developed for all properties in the subdivision, including open space areas. The plan must be reviewed and approved by the fire department prior to final plat. Intent of this is to reduce fuel loading, protection of life and property. Anyway, so we have, all that stuff's required
Okay,
up front, where they have to show us where the defensible space is, all that stuff, and then, we don't allow building sites on slopes greater than 30%. With the apex of the fire chimney, water sources, are required by the preliminary plat approval must be installed prior to the final plat.
But
Fuel
now
breaks and green belts,
we want to move on to HOA stuff
after
after all of
plat.
this.
right?
Yeah, so all of this is good and is already settled and in here. But now. we
Yes, but
wanna
the
go
vegetation
step
management
further.
plan has to be developed, and probably should say adopted by the HOA.
We want to go further than that, further
Mm-hmm.
than subdivision. And so here we would add, I think, add a whole new objective to state HOA CCNRs will comply or will encourage.
How about
whatever.
incorporate those regulations that were required plat, as a condition of their final plat approval, that they don't go away.
Could someone write some language, cause I can't do
Does
this.
that make sense?
We're in the middle of it. Hold on. So I feel like you said something about consider changing the zoning code.
This is a subdivision,
So,
that's what you would be able to enforce it through the HOA.
So
So
this
consider
would be
additional
like that.
changes to the subdivision regulations, wildland urban interface section to require HOAs to maintain and enforce fire-wise practices through their HOA.
I like that. Yeah. Did you get that, Alan?
No.
Hope so, because I can't repeat that.
Once he said what he did get, then we can work from there.
Consider additional changes to the subdivision regulations of all fire urban interface standards.
To include, that was,
Well, what about incorporating all of the fine regulations that you identified that our code requires as condition of plat approval, and just say that the HOAs, the codes, covenants, as a condition of plat approval, have to incorporate those to continue
They're
after.
continuing to require maintenance of, the wildland urban interface as per those wildland interface requirements.
Yes, I mean, right now what we're saying is we can't require HOAs to implement these things after the plat's been approved,
It's only,
but we can as a condition of plat approval. That's what I'm after, whatever that language would be. You understand, Alan?
Yeah, I'm just trying to write the language while you guys are talking.
so go back to the language you had.
As a condition of plat approval,
Wait,
HOAs,
hold on.
Additional changes, subdivision regulations, wildfire interface.
Are we writing a whole new objective or are we adding to it?
I think it's a whole new objective.
Okay, what's the language?
You got it started, so it says, consider additional changes to subdivision regulation, wildland or urban interface standards to include requirements for new subdivision, homeowners associations. And not every subdivision has an HOA.
True.
So,
Yeah.
something to think about, Consider new subdivision homeowner associations to include requirements for continued maintenance and continued establishment and maintenance of fire or of WUI standards.
And fire-wise.
Into the covenants
Yeah, into their covenants.
as a condition, as a,
Ruling standards into their. That's,
as a condition of plat approval.
Everyone happy with this?
with that.
All right, all in favor?
Alright.
Thank you, Richard, for bringing this to.
I'm sorry.
No, thank
That was
you.
the one thing I.
It's wonderful. Yeah, go ahead.
If we look at fire service. And you get down to. Third from the bottom sentence where it says there is a need for.
Mhm.
I'm so far off right now. Wait a minute.
That's okay.
Page 3, fire service.
Well, it's a different page, because I'm looking at the entire
Oh,
thing. Alright. Okay, where were we at again? Sorry?
there's a need.
It's the third line from, well, yeah,
What was the topic?
fire service.
Just
I
after.
had to lose my place to do all.
No, this is the most
Right.
recent version. I printed this right.
Oh,
off the
there's a
website.
need for it. Right there.
Okay,
Okay.
got it.
There is a need for a, and then at that point, I would insert fully staffed and equipped northern fire station in the vicinity. Because it does no good whatsoever to have just nothing but bricks and mortar.
Fully equipped.
Staffed,
Staffed and equipped.
Is that what, how the fire department in fact noted that there was a need for a fully staffed Northern Fire Station? Is that a state, I mean, is this a statement of current condition? Or is this a statement of what they want? What is this?
Can I-
Sure.
Out with that, the note from, fire chief, in his cover discussing all of this, mentions that, they recognize the need for a northern fire station.
Fully staffed.
And he didn't go to that.
I don't have Cole here, so I can't answer for fire.
Right, yeah, no, that's okay, so,
And I'm just going by his cover letter, but I think it does absolutely no good at all. I think you have to say fully staffed and equipped fire station.
Well, it says Whitefish Fire Department has noted, so I guess that's something that we would have to, I mean, I trust that you would know. But I also don't want to misrepresent what Whitefish Fire Department has noted. Just because it says that before.
And as I said, it's in his cover.
I don't
Okay.
think we were talking about an empty building.
Yeah,
Well, actually, however, historically, there was a fire station out at the corner of, Thompson Road
mhm.
and Whitefish Stage Road that was uninhabited.
Volunteer.
Still is.
It's still there.
Yeah, well, still is, I don't know.
It's historic.
People live out there.
and it's part, because it's part of the fire service area.
Yeah.
The problem,
Well, the Whitefish stations are not volunteer.
No,
Yeah,
that's a different. It's,
there's no,
You were about to say something.
East Lake Shore Drive and Big Mountain Road.
in the vicinity of.
I'm not aware, Richard, that there's, even when it was being considered and being offered to us, I'm not sure Cole or even his predecessor was talking about fully staffing and having it full, as a fully staffed. It may need it, over time, but at this point, that I know that was not part of his recommendation. The plan has always been to build that station wherever it is, equip it with the idea that we, you know, we could move from there. That was always the recommendation that I recall. Let's see. Okay,
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
if you don't state it here,
right.
the chances of it happening.
I'm not sure if I would agree with that. I mean, they'd have to do a fire management plan. When we looked at what their facilities plan are, they would identify whether that was, whether they need that or not. And I think just because we don't mention fully staffed and equipped, doesn't mean that wouldn't happen. They'd have to figure that out when they look at their budget and their management. I'm just uncomfortable with saying that on behalf of the Whitefish Fire Department.
No, that's fine, I'm just offering a suggestion.
No.
Okay, so is everyone agreed that that would be something that the fire department would have to say?
Yeah.
Even though we all agree personally, I think that if there's a fire station, it needs to be, especially by 2045. And that's a hard thing to keep in mind about this
Yeah.
growth policy is 2045, and that's so close, but so far away, so.
Yeah.
I like that suggestion, and I think that we should keep it notated somewhere. But ask if that's what they meant.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll move on.
Where it says to decrease response time, and then I would strike, it is possible, and begin the sentence, there are,
Where you,
right, a continuation of that,
Very bottom.
okay, yeah.
okay? It is, I would strike, it is possible, and just say, there are areas in the planning boundary in which there is not sufficient water pressure.
I know that's for a fact.
Evidence to back that up, just for like references?
I could give you personal firsthand information. My neighbor's garage burned down because when they went to hook up to the hydrant, there wasn't pressure.
Yeah.
So we're in the middle of updating our water master plan, and our water master plan says that there's gonna be a southern tower built that you already know about, and there's improvements that need to be done to 3 pump stations. And when those improvements to the pump station, the 3 pump stations and that southern water tower goes in, as well as, improvements to one of the storage tanks, that there would be sufficient water pressure citywide.
So that leads me to believe that there are areas where there is
But-
not, for now, at least, and then we can do
So
that later.
Yeah,
there are areas where the fire flow volume isn't whatever that number is, that is in the process of being fixed.
So all in favor of taking out, it is possible, raise your hand.
Yes.
Okay,
You just, haven't seen that section yet, because I haven't finished that section.
It also brings up the question of those who are not on city water and wells, but I'm gonna pass on further discussion.
That would be an annexation, annexation was certainly for the act analysis and annexation.
Requirement, annexation.
Requirement.
And
And with somebody wants to annex into the city,
I mean, if you're on a well and you're out somewhere out there, but you wanna get on sewer, there's no requirement that you connect to city water, so you might not have fire hydrant area, so.
Right. I'm
And also, if there's more than one fire at a time, it makes it really tough.
Yeah.
a case in point, but
so if the council gets an annexation agreement, or gets an annexation proposal, and their determination is that that annexation is not gonna meet minimum safety standards, they don't have to annex.
Alan, I have just a procedural question here. I printed out the section that was attached to the agenda. I didn't notice any, blue line changes, in mine that seem to be in yours.
Because I'm actually working on a raw copy, blue art lining it as you're talking right now.
I see that one up there now, but I've
Oh,
seen other ones earlier.
because the section, I'm sorry, the section that you have, all I printed out was the, let me see what you have. I think you only have. I think what we're referring to is probably just the wing. Let me see. Section that you're
See,
talking
I'm
about.
talking, you've had some changes in this previous ones that are showing up as blue line changes, and they're not printed. You know, there's that one,
Let me look.
but there have been others.
Let me look.
I was trying to track the changes that you were making based on public comment.
I think somehow our last,
Yeah, no, I actually have it. Let me get it.
our first meeting on hazards didn't get incorporated into the draft that's posted now.
Yeah. It'll be a minute. Just keep going along with for it.
Okay, so, Richard, will you ask your question, but
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, you're good. Did
I'm
you-
having difficulty. There is chocolate chip cookies that are staring me in the face.
Go ahead.
I broke
Do you
this
want,
broken.
do you
I
want
didn't
the
buy
ones that
You didn't,
you chewed on?
I didn't bite it. It's just broken. You can have it. Please take it.
I was hoping you would eat half of it. Uh,
family knows my proclivity for cookies.
And now the whole world does, because you're on YouTube eating chocolate chip cookies. You've been discovered. Okay,
Let me see, sorry, Scott, let me see what you have. Here.
Yeah,
Let me compare, because I have so many copies.
I was having trouble tracking whatever changes you made as a result of public comment.
So,
does that finish up on fire service for you,
Mm-hmm.
the water pressure issue?
And elsewhere I have discussed, or in the, objectives, talked about evacuation routes, but, I think that you need to look at where it says any route, very last sentence in that first paragraph, any route in the city can be directed to one way as necessary. But what I don't think anyone has a good sense of is the capacity of evacuation routes. Any evacuation route, I think there should probably be something in there about capacity.
We actually do have a suggested change, John, that sort of deals with that, don't
And our goals and objectives?
Yeah.
may I interrupt?
Yes.
We have exactly the same thing, it's just that what you have was only the hazard section, and what I have is the entire thing incorporated into everything that you've approved, so I'll show you what I mean. This, like, for instance, this blue section right here that you showed me. I'll show you. So all the changes are in there.
But are they highlighted? So
Yeah, I'll show you. So there's the blue part that you were just talking about, wasn't in here, it's in there, it's this, that, you have just the hazard section. I have the entire natural resources, hazards and environment chapter in front of me, but we're working on the same things. So every blue mark, like for instance, the blue marks that you made at the last meeting on water quality, right?
The hazards part, right?
So all of that. So what are so here's all the stuff that was done in water quality. What are the other comments, the other stuff that you had on hazards? Cause I have,
Yeah, go to the goals and objectives on hazards. That was the main area that I noticed. Didn't reflect the change.
I don't see, but I'm not, no,
let me
this,
see what you have. Not for the golden objective.
yeah, I just,
So what is, so I don't have any red marked goals and objectives and hazards other than what we're working on tonight.
what are those showing up on your document up there? There's, seems to be a number of them, like right there, residential homes on. There's just, yeah, go back that one.
Goals and objectives?
Well, any one of the mitigation and date type, right? All of those changes are not showing up on mine.
Everything that you guys have worked on, I've compiled it into this, right? Oops.
So there's like building types, I see a number of those things that are highlighted in blue that aren't showing up as changes on my.
Those are just Microsoft Word underlining things because it thinks that there's something in the sentence, it's the natural autocorrect thing in Microsoft Word that you're looking at.
Okay, hold on, I'm running through.
Put a
the whole
line in your
chat.
building because it thinks
So this
the
is
text, the
the-
context is wrong.
So this is the whole. This is the whole.
What you're seeing in Microsoft Word is little thing telling you.
Well, there were some red lines.
So whenever you guys finish the chapter, I compiled the whole thing into one environment, natural resource and hazards element. When I gave you what you saw today, I just cut out the hazards part and gave it to you of this entire chapter.
Sure,
But I'm running through this. Every comment that you had, all your changes should be in here. And that's what I'm running you through right now, all 46 pages. So here's the quality section. This is all the
If
narrative.
concerns about it, wants you to rewrite that to say something different. It's not a change. It's just Microsoft
That's
Word's
AI.
internal AI is saying that that sentence structure isn't correct.
So I'm running through water quality, right? You didn't make it. There was some comments I know that was made last time, and help me with his name. That was
Steve
here.
Thompson, maybe?
Yes. And those
Those did show
are on the
up.
floodplain stuff, and those were the comments, those were the hazards comments that were made last time. There was some discussion about a comment that Richard wanted to add that we did not add yet because we were talking about water quality and we were gonna revisit with hazards. But the stuff that's in here, I don't think there's anything that's missing. So for instance, here's the. Says that you've got just one piece of it.
Well, my concern was that I was unable to track whatever the changes were based on the document that was distributed. If any, I mean, it looks like there was only
So the,
two changes.
there was, for the hazards section, if you remember, we went through a lot of dialogue on water quality. And we went through a very quick dialogue on hazards and shut it down. So there was not very many comments, other than this, there was some stuff on the floodplain, which you should have.
But then we had a discussion that wasn't, so in the goals and objectives on hazard,
Okay,
we had a discussion of, and you were changing it in real time, but somehow I don't think it's on the draft that was posted for us today or 5 days ago. Thanks for hanging in here with us, Richard.
no,
This is important stuff that you guys are doing, it really is.
okay, that's all water quality, this is all climate change. This. It's fire, mineral extraction, okay, hazards. Floodplain, okay, there's the, okay, so that was changed by, what's it, Thompson? Steve Thompson?
Mhm.
So that was changed the last time by Steve Thompson. At the meeting. That was changed by Steve Thompson at the meeting.
Mhm.
Um, That's what you just added. So I guess I'm still not sure what we're missing
Okay,
So on goal 2
in,
and hazards. You just,
Stu and hazards.
yeah, I think you just passed it. Assess or upgrade infrastructure to increase safety.
Okay,
So you changed that during the meeting to reflect our conversation about prioritizing a route from Big Mountain. And somehow it's not reflected.
so we had a really long conversation about that, didn't? If I remember quickly, we had a very long conversation about that.
It was about 7 minutes of conversation. It was long for one thing. And we kind of visited it, came back to it, but you changed it. We put it in A And then Toby suggested that we move it down and make it a new C or D. And it was, you were changing it as we were talking, and we all said, yes, that looks good, but then somehow that part is gone. And I think there was another change that we had made that also wasn't reflected, so there may be a different draft somewhere out in the ether.
Yeah, let's see. You look at this one. This was posted July 2025. See if this is what you're talking about. It's entirely possible. Here, I'll share this. Let me back out. I'll share this with you. This is what's been recently posted. I think it is.
Please,
Nope. Go ahead, sorry.
what what I think we're referencing is the changes that we thought were made at our last meeting last week
Mhm.
that did get,
I don't
No, it's the hazards meeting from July.
is that what we're talking?
Yeah.
Okay,
We had the water quality and the hazards. It's two separate YouTube videos because it was so long.
right.
You left for hazards because you were falling asleep.
Oh, I know.
We all were too, but we stayed.
Okay, so this was July meeting. Okay.
Yeah, so this was the July meeting and the second part was hazards.
7/29. I mean, I have. This one. Let's see. This one was dated 7/29. I mean, let me see if that's it.
Let's see what.
7/29 would have correlated with that meeting.
It doesn't have the changes that we made. Maybe it was just not hitting save at the
Okay, so
end.
here, this
It definitely has Steve's contribution,
what I-
but that's it.
is this is dated, oops.
Well, if we know what the change was, we could adopt it in this meeting.
Yeah, we can just re-adopt, and I've watched the YouTube video because I was like, what am I missing? And so I can see what changes were there in red if I zoom in. And then we can just reincorporate the ones that I could see. Sometimes your screen was on the screen on the video, but sometimes this thing is like picking up us and your screen's not shared. So that was one that I can see what you typed and how we moved it around. But the other things I was unable to see.
Sure what to say. I'm not saying it didn't happen. If it did, I don't have it. I have, oh, wait a minute, I have this. Well, I have some, I have a note about the wildfire toxic spill. So this is probably gonna be the version. Let's see. Yeah, I got the FEMA rating system added.
Yeah, Toby had a comment on not just saying FEMA, because FEMA may be obsolete or not helpful at that point. You're very PC about your saying all of this. But yeah, that was the comment. I know, it was amazing. And so I'm glad it was captured on video. Toby being PC is what it's labeled. Kidding. So that portion, I think was changed, but I couldn't see the screen. You were requesting to say other federal agencies that might also be helpful.
Probably good wording.
So that we added, but I couldn't see that being added. But then the part about prioritizing the route to Big Mountain or egress, we had long discussion. It was written and then it was moved down to a better spot, C or D. So it's somewhere. And we can just,
I don't have it, I'm not saying it didn't happen, but.
well, we can reinsert those because I'm able to like kind of see the text and I could hear what was happening, so when we get to the goals and objectives, we can just reinsert that.
What I was trying to do identify was there's these comments that were submitted by FRG, red line. And what I was trying to do was to look back at the version to see if these were adopted or not. These were,
Okay, so as far as the FFRG comments are. I think I incorporated almost all of them, but you're not gonna see those red marked. By the time they came out to you, they've already been accepted. I think I accepted
you, or-
virtually all of their company, but that's FFRG is all the other citizens groups. So when I get 20 people, before it comes to you, right? I'm sending out drafts to people and I'm making comments. What, by the time it gets to you, that is the draft. And the only thing I track is after it comes to you in the public hearings. So virtually everything, I did make a response table that basically said though, that I incorporated, I think, all of their comments. In fact, I wrote an email to Richard saying.
Yes.
okay, I guess we.
Only because I get so many.
This is not-
So many citizens' comments that you will not want me to send you what that looks like before it gets to you, because I get conflicting different sentences and sometimes I have to figure out how to write it, because I'll get two different people saying two different things.
No, we read those.
So that's why you're not seeing
So
those.
it's-
Those aren't from me, those are from FFRG. But I, as I said, I remember incorporating all of their comments.
Okay. So anything that's in here, these changes should.
That's
all
the
be
FFRG,
made.
yes. The
Okay.
Whitney ones I'm scratching my head on. I remember some discussion about that.
Mhm. What was redlined and on there, so it must just not have
So I don't
gotten
know.
saved, but Steve's comments made it in, so that's part of that meeting made it, and then the rest of it, we can recapture as we go, we just, yeah.
Yep.
So, Richard, thank you, what else do you want to tell us?
Continuing on, where, it's talking about evacuation routes, Big Mountain Fire.
Okay,
What?
Sorry, page 4.
thank you.
In or out of the resort and the Big Mountain community, although Haskell Creek Road does provide secondary access, I think you want to say egress from Whitefish Mountain Resort.
I'm not with you yet, sorry.
Okay, the third line down on that last paragraph on
Last
page
paragraph.
4.
Okay.
Provides secondary change access to egress.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
Should we even be saying that it's an adequate road?
No, I'm getting
I
there.
think we do.
Okay.
I'm getting there. It is Big Mountain Fire District's opinion that this is not a reliable secondary route for emergency evacuation, period. And then I would scratch the rest. And the reason I would do that is because, we'll continue this discussion of Haskell Basin as a possible evacuation route, as dangerous as it is and as likely to be. I think it sends the wrong message. And considering that the next revision of this document is 3 years away, then is the time to perhaps discuss Haskell Basin and it gives you time to work out what it's gonna cost to get down, from, the Big Mountain, to build
Well,
a safe road.
you know, that road egress. Yeah, all the description is okay, but the thing that is that if it's an emergency exit. I don't care what you're driving, you're gonna go down that road
well,
and
then
you're probably
you're
not gonna
gonna
care about it.
plug it up for people who could make it. Period. And something.
In my experience, I'm the incident commander. I see on this fire, I would have that road blocked and not let a single person down there.
They all just burn up at the top of the mountain.
No, they won't. No, because the Big Mountain Fire Department has done the drills of putting people in the parking lots and in the, day center, to
Shelter in place.
protect them as a shelter in place.
So you wouldn't, we don't need an emergency evacuation route.
It would, I think,
Well, but-
I think it has to be studied, but I don't think this, well, personally, I don't think this is the place to do it. And I would, I know that, because I work with Ben quite a bit, I know that they have no desire to put anybody down that road. It's a fire trap. And,
It's privately owned, there's no public access easement.
Right.
So we don't really have any mechanism to improve it. It'd be all at Stoltz's will, whatever was done on there, and they probably don't want the liability of improving it. So a lot of difficult challenges with that road.
yeah.
Okay,
you're saying-
Richard, let's be clear on what you're saying. Are you want to eliminate the sentence beginning with according to the district and ending with has fire prone chimneys on Michael Basin, or do you want to go farther?
No, I think I would then put back in, the Big Mountain Fire District has worked extensively with the resort and its communities on an emergency plan.
Okay, that's in there now.
Yes, and keep that.
Keep that. Okay, so we know what you want to strike, and I agree that we should not be talking about that road in its present condition. So I agree we should strike that.
That would be my,
I think we should suggest that it be at least put up signs saying this is not a passable road.
Well, it's already gated.
yeah, it is gated now.
Yeah.
Well,
So yeah, then there's
Okay.
no need for.
And
us
that's
to
private
discuss
property.
it.
Is that a busted gate?
It's a school person.
Can you bust that gate if there's a fire emergency? There's,
I don't know the state of that place.
Okay, so all in favor of striking from according to fire prone chimneys in Haskell Basin, raise your hand. All right, so we're gonna strike that portion. Knowing that in 3 years, if that road is workable, that will be changed. And then we changed access to egress. Is that correct, Alan?
yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Going on to page 5. Community wildfire protection plan. The second paragraph. And I don't mean to be snarky about this at all. I would just say the current CWPP for the city of Whitefish is out of date, period.
Well, we can leave it the way it is. It's historical.
I would like, so
which one was it?
I'm just saying, eliminate this paragraph and replace it with the current CWPP.
This whole paragraph.
That's-
Look at that for a second.
The last sentence says there has not been an updated assessment. You wanna say, and the plan is out of date or something?
Personally, I would just say at this point, it's current CWPP is out of date. Because we've talked about several times, in various portions of the document that, there's going to be a new CWPP.
What is the status of that? Cause last time you said Tammy was doing an RFP.
What we did is help write the RFP and we passed it off to the fire department and the ball's in their court, so I don't have to
I
ask.
invited them here tonight. I don't know why they're not.
Fire departments.
I saw every apparatus we had go west on 93 about 4:30.
They're busy.
So that may have something to do with their unavailability.
Mhm.
Okay, so do we wanna add at the end of that paragraph, the current CWPP is out of date?
It's just merely a suggestion. I would just,
Why do you think you want to eliminate that entire paragraph? And what is it about that? This looks like a historical narrative. Is it, what's concerning about it too?
I was just trying to simplify things. Keep as much as you want, but I do think you need a statement in there that's strong that says it's out of date.
Okay,
Just
Well-
replace the last sentence with the
no,
current.
just add, the current CWPP is out of date.
The last sentence,
I think it's,
After the last sentence, so we got.
yeah, after the end of the first sentence, it talks about
After two
last
thousand
adopted,
nine.
so it's currently,
you're saying the second sentence after 2009?
just at the end of that sentence, it just say last adopted it in 2009, so it is currently out of date.
Okay, that sounds great, Dave.
All in favor of adding that? Okay,
I think current to currently.
current update is not what you want to say. That's sneaky, Alan.
It says current CWPP, that would be correct.
So the CWPP plan
Is currently.
or the CWPP,
Update. Okay, and hopefully we get to change that
I
before
mean, we don't
this.
know how much it's wrong or maybe changed, so we do a new one, right? So it
Yeah.
could still be accurate, it's assessments, we don't know until we do a new one, right? So
So hopefully before this.
how out of date it is,
Well, well, at least, what, 16 years?
it's old, but doesn't mean it's wrong, right?
Doesn't mean it's changed, but.
Yeah.
All right. So anything else on that section?
Not in that section, fire adapted and firewise communities, again, I caution you about using the term firewise as a trademarked organization. You point that out, but I just want to reemphasize that. But
This, I have some expertise in this. So Firewise is a trademarked term,
Mhm.
is that which?
Fire adaptive is more the general term.
Right, well then, if we're gonna use Firewise, we better identify that is in fact a trademarked item and who owns it.
It says that.
It's-
Trademark divination.
bridge.
Designation.
Down after fire, after fire was, the town strategy of that community frameworks, scourge rid of firewise communities. That quote, firewise is a trademark designation given by the.
Okay, you're right, there,
Firewise.
fine.
But I would back up to where it says fire adapted and firewise communities. And come down 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. The line begins with information. And working together to reduce and mitigate fire hazard. We already have, the risk is the fire. It's all the hazards that go with fire.
Fire hazard.
And then it's just a semantic thing, but fire,
strike risk and impacts, and add the word hazards,
different, strike risk and insert hazard.
just risk.
Replace, yeah. Okay, all in
It's
favor
a
of
fire
that?
thing. Sorry.
You just got you.
Yeah.
Okay, no, you said that last time too, and I think some of these tiny things. We definitely talked about them after, cause you gave your hazard spiel. And then left during water quality, yeah, so it was great, that we got to hear it, and then we did discuss it, cause we talked about Firewise being. Similar to LEED certified, and saying we'll follow LEED, whatever, but not saying we are LEED or not saying we are certain Firewise. So I think that most of those things, like, were already incorporated. But it's good to continue to know that's a neighborhood, smaller population thing.
Page 6.
Yes, please.
Second line begins with grants and funding. I would put a period after funding and delete the rest of that because this is pure speculation on insurance.
Sorry,
It's happening all over the place.
where are we?
It's a possibility. I don't think we should do that.
There's 2 paragraphs above the word floodplains. Do you see the section floodplains?
Floodplains, yeah.
So
okay.
go up 2 paragraphs above that,
Okay, got it.
and the paragraph that's just above that. So just keep going up right there at the end of, yeah, I wasn't sure if your page was the same as
Yeah.
ours. Grants and funding, yeah.
That's my suggestion.
It is a possibility,
Which is to-
fire insurance reductions, it's happening, I mean, they're auditing every
Yeah,
property in the
I don't
country.
think that's gonna happen anytime in the future, of insurance reduction.
No, you're not, I
The
don't,
only thing that they're gonna reduce is whether they're gonna insure you or not.
well, it might be a relative reduction.
Well,
compared to
the amount of money that
don't
they're
have
sure.
firewall.
Yeah, or not increase due to,
But we're not designating Whitefish as a firewise community because it doesn't qualify.
Okay,
but a
I mean,
neighborhood.
it should be, rather than fire insurance reduction, it should be rate reductions, is what it's talking about there, I think.
The possibility of insurance.
Rate reductions,
Possibility, I think that's fine.
insurance reductions makes it sound like you're getting less insurance, so.
Right. That's,
Yeah, so add in the word rate in between insurance and reductions.
Insurance, is this something that we can attain, this firewise
no,
designation?
Not as a city,
Why?
It's too big.
but neighborhoods and pockets could.
I think the maximum size is 2,000. The minimum size is 8.
So this looks like it's been pulled from a website or something to do with Firewise. So it just looks like information to me. Being designated as a Firewise community is voluntary, but includes benefits. Did you take that from like a Firewise website?
Plates are always input.
No, I mean.
Generally, some,
Definitely
I
nothing
mean,
like
yeah,
that.
a lot of what I read is reading information and then regurgitating it into my own words.
Yeah, such as access
So,
to
and-
grant funding.
I wouldn't have I didn't put that in there just because I made it up.
I
Yeah,
mean, if Richard's correct and we can't obtain that as a community because we're too large, then maybe we need to say that in there somewhere because it makes it sound like we could attain it. Just the way that paragraph's written.
I mean, we have stuff about encouraging, I don't think I ever said Whitefish, but sure. I did talk about, I think, developments and subdivisions.
so can we just give the numbers 8 to 200 currently, or 2,000?
I would, I had to go back on that website.
Yeah.
I didn't have time to do that.
That's
See.
fine.
And that's my only request. I don't care if I just wanna make sure if it's a fact. It's
Yeah,
fine.
and I'm not sure,
It's 8 dwelling units and a maximum of 2,500.
okay,
Thank you.
Yeah.
I knew it was close with 2,000.
so, yeah,
Maybe
can we just,
put that in there.
To try and.
That would be where greatly reduce risk for homes or neighborhoods being lost to wildfire, and then you wanna add something there.
Well, just. when you're
You want the fact from the Firewise website?
Again,
I walked in that
You guys only put.
yeah, I think read it to us.
Okay, so it says, community size, minimum of 8 dwelling units and a maximum of 2,500.
Okay.
2,500 dwelling units or
Yeah.
people? 2,500 dwelling.
So to get back to what we were saying, Richard is saying delete the possibility of fire insurance reductions.
I think it's even more than, as I reread this, because if you read the whole thing here, given the Firewise and trademark. And I think then you could say, as a city, Whitefish does not meet qualifications.
but individual neighborhoods,
Individual neighborhoods and communities meeting minimum guidelines of best practices for wild being designated as a Firewise community is voluntary. Yeah. So that was my
You
view.
can go up one just under.
So,
So I mean, I think it was after the first sentence where it says fire adapted community to term for general framework, says this framework typically blah, 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 and then it talks about Firewise in the next paragraph, and that's probably after that.
Okay, so say of at least 8 and 2,500 dwelling units.
Authority is fire community, which can be between 8 and 2,500 dwelling units. At the end of that first sentence of that paragraph or its own sentence afterwards.
And if we're gonna say Whitefish does not qualify, we need to say because of the size. Otherwise, people might think in the future, oh, we need to do something.
no, I think,
That's a good
yeah,
point.
population,
If it's a numbers issue, we cannot qualify.
yeah,
We don't wanna say they don't qualify, because then we'll think, well, what are we doing?
but verbs within could, So there's a way to.
We could just say for communities of at least 8
Yeah.
and up to 200, 2,500.
Yeah.
Right after, it says, given by the National Fire
Organizations.
Association for individual neighborhoods or communities
Mhm.
of 8 houses to 2,500,
Right, of,
and then meeting minimum guidelines,
That's where the HOAs can come in.
and then just stop it right there.
houses.
Down
Good
below,
call.
that's the fire adapted. You get the next
It occurs.
The first sentence of the, yeah,
Individual neighborhoods or communities of at least 8.
dwelling units.
Dwelling units and up to 2,500
8 to 25.
dwelling.
And just break ourselves in halves. So as a whole, maybe not, but
Mhm.
broken down might be able to.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we would
Yeah.
try for with HOA and covenants and all of that, is having some teeth to say, you will be firewise.
Yeah, so it's like individual subdivisions could
Mhm.
be designed that way,
That makes sense.
or existing ones.
Or existing ones, or it's neighborhoods to be identified as. And so I think
That clarifies it.
that, yeah,
Okay, everyone in favor of what we just added? Okay, and that means that we are not removing the possibility of fire insurance reductions because perhaps, we don't know. Maybe not reductions, but,
Well, I think that if you include that portion of that sentence, you should add fire insurance, the word rate.
I think that is added.
okay,
Right, we did add that.
Oh, okay, so it's actually rate.
It's right there.
okay, so
These are
rate
mine.
has been added, okay. Everyone's happy with the changes we just made? Yes, okay. Next, Richard.
That's it until you get on to goals and objectives. And, as Alan pointed out, those are, the goals, the modifications, changes that I suggested, on behalf of myself and FFRG, and Alan has, done a marvelous job in incorporating those. I appreciate that. Hopefully it was helpful, and brought clarity. I want to point out before I take the back seat now. It's important for all of us to know that, first of all, Whitefish is in its entirety in the wildland urban interface. It's important to understand that the community of Whitefish is one of the 8 highest risk communities in the state of Montana. It is one of 2 in Flathead County, the other is Bigfoot. And because I spent some time thinking about this. It's important, I think, for all of us to understand that fire risk is not gonna come from the flaming front, but it is going to come from the ember storm that precedes the flaming front for a distance of 1 mile, 2 miles, 3 miles, 4 miles. And once we then convert, once houses, buildings, structures begin to burn, once we convert, then it doesn't matter how many fire stations we have and how many trucks. It is now a completely different fire regime. We need to all understand that, in terms of fire behavior. And because the fire brands that are generated by burning buildings are much different than the fire brands generated by a forest fire. So I just felt like I needed to.
Yeah, when I read the section that we just gone through, I was, thinking that we should have a better quality discussion of fire, and importantly, fire brands, because I was aware of that. I think all of these, the 100% in WUI, I didn't know that. That should be in our section. And probably the one of 8 most, at risk for fire should also be.
We actually do have that.
Okay,
Let me see,
I read it a month ago, so.
According to the Montana Department of Natural Resources and Conservation, the entire city of Whitefish has been determined to be within the WUI zone. And the Montana, yeah, so we do say that the entire thing is in the WUI zone. We also have language, we don't have the 80%, but we have the, wildfire risk communities model, it's a tool to help communities identify the level of wildfire risk. According to this model, the risk of wildfire in Whitefish is 90% higher than other communities. And Headwaters Economics rated Whitefish as one of the 1,100 communities most at risk in the US of wildfires, or in most risk of wildfires, so we do have that. I don't have that,
The continuation of that study says that there are 8
yeah, I don't have the 8.
that, yeah, but of the 1,000, what's that number there?
1,110.
8 of those are in Montana, 2 are in Flathead County.
Yeah, I don't have that.
You know, we probably couldn't do it for this growth policy, but maybe in the future we could get a more scientific, technical discussion of how fires move and what may happen in terms of these firebrand storms and so forth. That would be very interesting, and it's stuff that people should know.
Kind of, I want to get back to the comments that we were just talking about in terms of the 1,100, 8 are in Montana. And 2 of that 8 are in Flathead County, one of which are, Whitefish is one of the, and one of those 2, I think that reference needs to be in there as a fall down afterwards.
Sure, do you want it in, you want it there or you want it in a footnote?
They being in the second one.
According to this model, risk of wildfire, 1% higher, blah, blah, blah. Period, all right, higher than other communities, period. Let me break that up then, because that's a long sentence.
Yeah.
Headwaters Economics rated Whitefish is one of the 1110 communities most at risk of wildfires, comma,
In Montana,
with 8 being in the state of Montana,
right,
and 2 including Whitefish,
in Flathead County.
Whitefish. Oops, sorry, you never take well when everybody's watching me, I do not think again.
Well, I'll look
It's one
away.
of the things that I hate
All right.
about doing this at council.
According to this model, the risk of wildfires in Whitefish is 9% higher than other communities in the US, period. Headwater Economics rated Whitefish is one of the 1,110 communities most at risk for wildfires, comma, with 8 being in the state of Montana and 2, comma, including Whitefish, comma, in Flathead County.
Everyone agree? Yes.
You should say Montana and 1 of 2 in Flathead County, because you're already talking about Whitefish.
And 1 of 2. And 1 of 2. In Flathead County. Sure.
Yes, that works fine.
Yeah, right, 1 of 2 in Flathead County.
I still like the Department of Redundancy Department, you know.
I just, not that we already made the change, but I just think it's incredibly important that we bring this level of concern by identifying we are one of the most vulnerable, not just in the country, but in the state of Montana, certainly in Flathead County. Just like, I just think we need to bring it down to where we are.
Also, it validates what we're talking about.
Right.
You know, that all this fire protection, everything like that, is, they'll go, hey, look.
Yeah.
You know, this validates that fire is something that's high priority in Whitefish.
Right. Okay,
So let's end public comment, Richard, for a bit until we get to goals. I think that's the best part for this. And then when we get to goals and objectives, I invite you, if everybody's on board with that, for Richard to add his things, because we're gonna do board discussion and goals and objectives first. So you can still be here. I'd like to take a short break and then reconvene with goals and objectives. Is that,
works for me.
We're gonna have another cookie then?
please, eat the cookie. We'll turn the owl off and you eat all of the cookies. Okay.
Thank you for allowing me to come to the table.
Happy.
The other end of the spectrum.
Okay, we are back from a short break, back to hazard session. This is our growth policy meeting. And we're now gonna have board discussion of the draft chapter. And I will start with goals and objectives, which we have previously discussed, so we have more to add to that. And, we do have,
I
Go
have a
ahead.
question
yes,
about that. We did meet with staff and asked them about making a change to move the goals and objectives to the beginning of each section. And I noticed that,
so this is prior to that.
Yeah, okay, we did have a conversation, the transportation section's in that format.
Okay.
I was waiting to make sure, I didn't know this, the only thing we thought we were walking in today were the comments that I received from John about water,
Sure.
the updated hazard comments. I was waiting to hear what the input was on the transportation section before I went back and retrofitted all the other plan sections.
that's fine.
I didn't even know if you'd like that format yet, so I did just the transportation section. Because the other thing is, that's one thing we have to talk about, is, if I do that reformatting, in order to do that, I have to add additional language that you're not gonna see in the hearing, like I have to do those summaries that we talked about, after each goal, I have to do a little summary, so I have to add additional language. So, it's only transportation right now. If you like that format, then I have to go back and retrofit everything, but I also have to add a lot of additional language.
Okay.
So
Got it. I was
that's
just
why you
curious.
have not seen that yet, is this is still old version. If you like that format, yes, I will go back and retrofit all the other ones as well.
So are we on board to do transportation in September?
No.
This is, okay, maybe we'll save that for the end, but we had discussed how it would be easier to do this section if we had seen transportation.
Would you like me to show you the draft that's not approved yet, to show you an idea of what it looks like?
Maybe not right now, but if,
I can show you that as long as you know that it's gone in the departments and out to agencies, and it's not gone out to the public yet, but I can show you that format. The transportation section was scheduled for September. Because the land use thing is happening rapidly at the same time, we're pushing transportation. I haven't made that announcement yet, but I will. I just gotta get all the information. But then the next few days, I'm gonna have a newsletter alert that's gonna go out, that's gonna say that we've had to move it to October because land use visioning is gonna happen at your next meeting. It's from, I don't get all the details yet. We talked about the meeting with the consultants, when I say them. We talked about the consultants meeting with you from 5 to 6. I don't know yet, still that's the way it's gonna go. But then there's actually going to be land use visioning for the whole community happening on that date. So that's why transportation is not gonna happen.
okay. And we had, just to wrap this up, so we don't have to talk about it again at the end, we had talked about seeing the draft when you send it out to stakeholders that we had talked to you about.
I raised that issue, and as I told you, that was not my decision, and it sounds like that so far is not my decision to do that.
Okay.
So I do not believe, I'll have to defer to Dave how he wants to handle that.
Okay.
But the idea of sending it to the planning board at the same time that we send it to to agencies, Dave.
Well,
I suppose it's a,
I mean, we could do that. The only issue is there's a lot of, we're still drafting it
Yeah.
and we're getting all these comments and so the version that goes out is very rudimentary until we get the information back. There's a lot of stuff, especially on transportation, that MDT's given us, Public Works has given us. So it's just so rudimentary that, we're just doing our best job before it comes to you guys. So it's as accurate as possible when you guys get it.
Okay,
So I don't want to be getting comments from drafts that we're not even done with yet because
Yeah.
they're not even out there for the public.
we had said,
Or if somebody on this department gets it, then they forward it to somebody else, like FFRG, and they get a draft that's not even done. And pretty soon we're getting comments on things that we're not even halfway done. Right? Yeah, so we're trying to make sure that whatever goes out is our best draft to you guys. We're getting the information that we have, just like we do with the staff report that goes to the city council and to you guys. We send it out for comments and then we incorporate those comments and then we give it to you guys so that what you see is as accurate as possible.
so I know you requested that, but I didn't want you to think that I ignored it. It was,
No, I,
I've decided that that's not going to be what.
okay,
I'm-
yeah, we had just talked about it being a read only and then not commenting and not sharing So that was the request, was to see it as read only, no sharing, no commenting until it came back. But this is obviously taking like, if it's gonna be October, then that's fine. We just hope to see it for this, to see transportation in with hazards. But we can wait, we have to wait.
Change, we try to speed up when you guys get a final draft before the, not just a week before the meeting, but when we have that done.
So-
You guys have more time.
So that's helpful.
So as far as transportation goes, I've gotten the agency comments and I'm almost done with making the changes that I can make.
Okay,
And then I'm gonna have a discussion with Dave about, because since it's being punted a month, you know, Dave has to take another look through it to make sure it reads the way he thinks is acceptable. And then we could send it, because it's done, we could send it out early, but that's really, you know, a call. We could send it out, we could send it out within the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
But again, I had to have Dave kind of make
We
sure.
just wanna make sure the draft, you know,
But
doesn't.
yeah, you could
No
get, you could
typos,
get it.
everything's consistent, all the narrative ties into the goals and objectives, I mean, that's all the stuff that we do after the draft.
So would we get the,
You could get an extension earlier, like
same
within a
time
month.
the stakeholders locally get it?
I'm sorry.
Would we get the transportation section at the same time the local stakeholders get it?
So when you talk about stakeholders, you're talking about agencies. So we have,
Stakeholders like, you know, the realties and investors.
so it depends on the fund element, right? Like the economic development element, I did not send that to the fire department as an agency. The transportation element, I did not send them to the realtors. The realtors will get it when it goes on a public review. I sent the transportation section to the state of Montana, to Flathead County, to all the transportation agencies. Once the transportation agencies, the experts are done looking at the transportation element, and I make their official transportation comments, then I will send it on public review. And that is where it goes out to everybody on the subscribed Whitefish, which we also should be when you get it, because you're subscribed. Then I get their comments, and I make all their comments, and then the final version goes to you prior to the staff, prior to the meeting.
Speaking for myself,
okay.
I think I would much prefer to be treated as a stakeholder in terms of receiving those drafts and that information with the understanding that the purpose of that is not to comment or suggest changes at that point, but to enable us to kind of get up to speed on these plan elements, because right now, it's a challenge. You know, towards the end of the meeting, I mean, these changes were posted 5 days before. We've all got schedules. For me, it would be useful to get,
I'm just going through this thought process, is that, again, the stakeholders that get it, Scott, are quote, the regulatory, essentially the experts
Yes.
in the area.
depending on the plan element, but
Yeah, so that's where that goes, and then you get, when that is done, we all get as not just general stakeholders, but the general public, you will get that draft.
Right, 3 weeks in advance.
So you'll get that draft, and so you'll have a full view of what's being proposed by the experts. And that's something that I think we can use to commenting on a raw document that hasn't been reviewed by the stakeholder experts is, I'm not sure that's necessarily helpful.
And based on what we said before, what I'm gonna be doing now is after it goes through the experts, because technically the experts are helping me write it. Right? I'm going to the experts and I'm asking them to help me write it. Once they're done, and I send out that finished draft to the community, we're up 500-600 people. When I incorporate their comments, I do them as red marks and I'll be giving them to you so you can see the community comments and how I incorporated them.
And they're also, everybody they get whatever you send out to the community.
Correct. So if you're subscribed to the website.
Yeah, okay, so you get it as early as anybody in the general public gets it.
That's why we're nervous about giving things out before the agencies get them, because those are the experts that are helping us write.
Right.
So I understand this. If that's the answer, that's the answer. Let's move on.
Yeah.
That's the answer that we've gotten.
It's not my answer,
No, I know.
it's the answer.
I get it. I'm saying that's the answer. That's the
It's a
answer.
lot of things that aren't my answer.
We could talk about this for a really long time, but nobody wants to. Okay, so let's get back to, so now we're clear on when transportation will come before October, that's fine.
You'll get it earlier than most of them because it's,
Okay, so we're gonna get back to goals and objectives on hazard section. And we have, so we have a couple of, we'll just go in order. We have some things that have been presented here to us, and then we have things to incorporate from last meeting that didn't make this draft, so we'll just do it in order. So number one, goal number one, wildfire, or, so the information that was handed out when we came, from John's suggestion. And this is a few people's suggestions combined. Myself, John and Scott met to kind of combine our thoughts, and that's what this handout is. So goal number one looks fine. The suggestion on B is to add within 6 months of land use plan approval. Yes,
I guess, I'm sure Gail has anything to say on it too, but my concern about that is how can I put a timeline on how long DNRC, the state and the federal government is gonna be able to finish something? Because that's what you're asking me to do. Complete it within 6 months. I'm not even sure that I can get the federal government to get the application within 6 months. That's an impossible goal for us.
complete and updated fire risk.
We're gonna have a USFS in 6 months.
So I think what I'm reading within 6 months is again, the function of prioritizing and making sure we get it done as soon as possible. Is that?
Yeah.
I think, when I think of a lot of these things, and I kind of agree with it, is that it's a pie in the sky goal. But we need to add some emphasis to that we think this is really important, needs to be completed as soon as possible, practical. And again, I guess it's one of my favorite words, prioritize completing an updated fire risk assessment, et cetera.
Way easier for us to implement.
Well,
We're just a small
so
player.
Alan, has the city done its part in making the application or getting the ball rolling? Have they submitted everything to the NRC and the Forest Service that needs to be? Because we can put a time limit on that.
We've got the grant, we've filled out the RFP.
Yeah, without,
I don't have Cole here. I don't know. I don't know.
You're good.
We've done, when you talk about planning has done what we
we
can.
did our part, we helped them, we actually drafted a RFP to help them, so it was expedite them doing it, because if they're the ones that are taking the lead on that plan, so our planning department's done what we can. From the city's perspective, I just can't answer on behalf of Cole or the new fire marshal on where that process is. I know we just got the grant money, we don't even have the grant money yet, but we got, some of the grant guidelines and things like that, so I mean.
I think we can make this work as an objective by requiring it be a priority or something, as opposed to putting a specific time. I mean, I understand your concern, but it's like, oh, yes, go ahead.
So my only thought there was, within 6 months of the land use plan approval, so that would start from, whatever, next May or June, when the plan is finally approved. So I don't think that that's an unreasonable.
Prioritizing a completed, updated fire.
Completion.
I mean, that's.
That's it,
completion.
yeah, it says complete, it's not prioritized.
The DNRC is who does the risk assessment. It's not us. DNRC does the risk assessment. So we can't tell them when they're gonna be done with it. They're the ones that do it. They've already offered to do it. We've asked them to do it. And that's part of what's being requested is the community welfare protection plan, but As much as I would like to tell the federal government or the state government to do things in my time, like, give me my tax returns, it doesn't work that way.
Well, again, this is kind of inconsistent. If DNRC is responsible in terms of an objective, what we can say is prioritize the getting a completed updated fire risk assessment with DNRC and do what is necessary to facilitate their getting it done. I mean, it's like, and
Well, I mean, if you want to just use the word prioritize getting prioritize completion of an updated risk and then strike the within 6 months of land use plan approval. That sounds like what you're suggesting.
I'm offering that as,
Yeah.
a kind of something, because the concern is you can't.
I don't want to belabor it.
Within 6 months.
Literally, it looks like Whitefish is doing it with some coordination from DNRC.
But that's
Well,
Strike.
it's not exactly that. DNRC is doing the risk.
Yeah, that's why we should strike.
If they're using us as some of their information, right? So we're working with them, but they're leading the risk assessment.
Okay, so we'll add the word prioritize completion of,
Yeah,
okay,
Or
And then-
whatever you want to.
and then we don't have the within 6 months up there, so that we'll just say prioritize completion of, and leave it the same. Okay, everyone in favor of that?
But in coordination,
Well, we have to coordinate with them, right?
Right.
So I don't see any reason to take it out. Cause they need us to do what we have to do, we have to wait on them. So, okay, everyone in favor? Okay. So that's been added, thank you, Alan. All right, and then the same type, in C, prepare an updated community wildfire protection plan within 6 months of land use plan approval. We had just spoken about that wildfire, yes,
And do you mind me weighing in on these things, because I please.
yes.
I'm nervous about mapping areas of insufficient water pressure. That's some very complicated modeling. That's expensive.
What are you talking
It says prepare an updated community wildfire protection plan. The plan should include a delineation of the wildlife urban interface, high risk areas, wildfire response times, community firefighting capability, map areas of insufficient water pressure.
about? Oh, see, I can't tell what's new on this and what was in our thing, so it's
Oh,
not.
this is all new. This, none
All
none
that's
of this is new. We have, none of this is in the, so, my comment is, and I can hear Greg saying, that's mapping all of the areas in the city of insufficient water pressure is modeling something that's expensive and that's time consuming. I don't think that's gonna get done before the community wildfire protection plan. I don't see that happening. That's a lot. And by the time we get our infrastructure improvements built, our pump stations and our water tower, we're not gonna have areas of insufficient water pressure anymore.
We shouldn't.
We should not.
So what about instead of map, note?
Yeah, there are other ways you can describe the areas without mapping.
Sure, I mean, because you guys haven't seen it yet, I've seen the draft, the water master plan already talks about the areas that could be better served. One of them's Lions Mountain, I can't remember, it escapes me now. I can tell you generally where those areas are, I've already written the draft of that section. I know generally where those areas are, and I know that when they do the improvements, the capital improvements, those areas are gonna be.
So would, instead of map, identify, would that be a better term?
I would be way more comfortable with that than map, because we can generally say Lions Mountain.
Yeah.
Not these water.
Cause it sounds like you've already identified if you're implementing something to help with this issue.
Right,
So they've already
We've already done that.
identified, so,
yeah, we've already done that.
but then it's very hard to put that on a map.
Yeah, it's very hard, because then you're, how much are you talking feet?
Right.
Miles,
Yeah,
which lines?
I'm not.
So I would propose that we delete map and insert identify.
That's one thing, we
Okay.
already have a goal on the CWPP, is just adding to it,
We have, yeah.
or objective. I don't have a copy of the.
This is it, or wait, we have, no, this is it. This is easy enough to do. We've already done this. The water master plan is already doing this.
I'm just wondering how that ties into an existing objective in our draft, if there's redundancy there.
We don't
No,
want
I don't-
redundancy
I don't
in
think
goals
so,
and objectives.
but
Maybe,
I just don't have, I can't pull it up because I'm hosting the meeting, so.
it's not in here. I can look in the public facilities if it was anywhere.
Well, we've already decided in some other contexts that we will have some redundancy, so that's not something to spend time on, I don't think.
That just doesn't give you so much
I'm
worry.
just more concerned about two goals in the same chapter that say the exact same thing.
Yeah, I don't think so. I'm pretty sure everything we have about insufficient water pressure is,
I'm talking about this CWP, prepare the updated CWP sheet, that's not a goal.
that is
the goal.
That's what
That's
we're
where
working on
state-
right now. It is that.
Well, I just can't tell, all I have is this, what's
Right.
new and what's an existing goal.
Well, the, what's in black is already in there. And then what
That's
they
what I
have.
asked you earlier, you said it's all new.
No, I'm
No,
sorry.
just the tan.
I meant the tan, it's red marked in yellow.
It's a dandelion
It's-
color.
Yeah, it's red marked dandelion.
Okay.
So that
just the
goal-
word map is, okay.
Yeah, I just had a problem with saying mapping because that's very specific.
So map is changed to identify. Everyone who's happy with that, raise your hand. All right, and then here we also have within 6 months of land use plan approval.
do the same concerns apply as from the previous one with the RC?
I mean, it's, I think it doesn't because you're preparing it in 6 months, doesn't say have it completed in 6 months, which I don't think we could do that.
Can we change it to
Well,
complete?
what I'm hearing is this has been going on for years, and so
What's been,
we're concerned and we want to make it happen, so help us do that.
Wish I had fire here. I don't know what to say.
I mean, we'll definitely start,
It is a.
or have that plan completed within 6 months of the growth policy being updated, so I don't have an issue with that language within 6 months.
Okay, so
Okay.
everyone in favor of saying within 6 months, the community wildfire protection plan? Okay, and that's prepared. Great, all right. Anyone have anything to add on the rest of goal number 1, D and E?
So within 6 months of this community plan approval.
Better word.
Again, it's a goal. It's a goal.
Well, it's an objective. Yeah, so,
So F was left out on this draft here. And F
Yeah.
relates to Firewise, we're including that, right?
mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's no changes.
Yeah, I left that out personally. I was converting like Alan from PDF with Word to Apple. So,
All right, so
Okay.
D, we have,
I'm not gonna be an ass about this, but I will tell you again. If we're going to use Firewise, use that term, you need to identify it as a registered trademark, which you can put Firewise and then put the
Little R.
little circle R. Sure. But if we use that term, we need to identify it as a trademark,
Understood.
not ours.
I got it.
Okay.
So maybe we should just use, would you rather say fire adapted or do you want me to say fire eyes and put the little reserve? I don't care.
I don't
You can say fire adapted or firewise,
Sure.
they can become that, right? So-
It's a matter of me figuring out where the symbol T is. Fine.
That's fine. So like I said, it's like, I don't want to be a pain in the ass about it.
No, it's
But-
absolutely, it's a trademark.
all right, so, F is fine, G, map, we're looking to add map road closures necessary to protect public health, safety, and welfare during dry periods and work with agencies within jurisdiction to effectuate such road closures.
Number one, how does that tie to G, the goal or an objective? It
Where are we?
thought being its own thing, and then IG issues with how we know what roads are closing, when we're closing them, why we're closing them,
Find that.
and who's talking. County roads, state roads, federal roads, city roads.
John,
all roads. I'm thinking of, roads on
Terrain,
up near the Stillwater State Forest. I don't know how far the planning area goes there, but along Whitefish Lake, there are some roads up in the north of Whitefish Lake that might need to be closed if we got to an extreme condition of fire risk.
when you're saying dry, not road closure necessary to protect public health and safety and welfare during dry periods, you're saying periods, you're saying that we should map roads during periods of drought, where roads should be closed during periods of
Yeah,
drought?
make
For
decisions
extreme
on
fires.
what roads need to be closed.
Well, that's TNRC, you know, and making those decisions on,
Well-
just Upper Whitefish Lake Road, this is an example. There's some federal roads on Big Mountain.
Well, there are a lot
Both
of
of those are
logging roads that aren't designated anything, and DNRC may be a bit slow.
Those aren't.
So if there's an extreme fire hazard, I think Whitefish should be proactive toward closing some roads in areas that are extreme fire risk.
Okay, again, just to be clear, you understand that we can only close roads within the boundaries of the city of Whitefish.
Right. But you can advocate for closing roads that may cause a fire to can come to the city of Whitefish or to Big Mountain. We're just talking about, mapping road closures necessary. We're not saying that Whitefish can actually close them. And then at the end, work with agencies to effectuate such road closures, but
I'm
obviously
gonna,
it may require the order of some other agency, but, the
Okay.
mapping and the advocacy for road closures is pretty important.
But I mean, when you want me to raise my hand,
Yes. Well, go ahead.
go ahead.
I guess, again, it's all great ideas, I'm not contesting they're good ideas. That's all extremely dependent upon where's the vegetation that year, what areas are hot, what areas are cold, where's fire risk, where's the population, and then a lot of them, yeah, most of them aren't even in the city. So proactively ahead of time, trying to map the areas that will be closed, just depends on,
No, I think the maps would be done year to year. That's how you express a road closure. You have a map with the road going across it, and you make a decision, this should be closed.
what roads in the city, for instance, right now, what roads in the cities would we close?
I don't know.
That's the problem, there aren't, they're all out of the city.
They're all,
Well-
within the city, almost all the roads are paved except for small exceptions.
So I'd like to ask Richard if he knows of any agencies that proactively close roads. Is this something that's already?
Maybe the incident management team.
Forest Service, my experience is Forest Service, they can move to a road closure in 24 hours, if they determine it's a hazard, that it's an unacceptable risk. They have people traveling. So they can close down the forest, actually.
Do they do that pretty consistently and
Oh, yeah.
well enough that you think that's something we shouldn't be reaching into? I'm just asking opinion.
I don't think for this purpose, you really need to do that. Just because my experience on closing roads has been that there is usually a huge, public notification process that only emergency traffic is gonna go on either side of Hungry Horse Reservoir.
Okay.
So those are,
That-
And there's usually an interagency incident management team, right, that would be responsible for that.
not only when you have an incident, that's,
Well, that's what I'm saying, I mean,
and then they can do whatever.
right.
Okay, so maybe now we have sufficient information to take a vote on whether or not we'd like to add this. So we have basically a motion, I guess I made it to add this. I'll move to add this to G. But I don't want to be the one to move because it's not mine, so John.
Okay.
Can we make this a
Add
second
the
objective
language.
and not the same?
Well,
It should be a separate objective, though, it's not really related to the HOAs association.
We can decide that after we decide whether we want to keep it or not. So I'm moving that we map road closures necessary to protect public health and safety and welfare during dry periods and work with agencies with jurisdiction to effectuate such road closure.
Anyone want a second? Bill's for a second. We're gonna move on and leave that to somebody else. But I like that roads can be closed.
Now, I'm making another letter, objective GH. On its own.
Do you wanna do that? Move to make it its own?
Well, it failed.
I mean, it failed to be, I don't. Yeah, you can move to make it its own letter. Okay, it's up to you. Okay. So, J is the next one that I see. Anything before J? Aye. Anyone? Richard, feel free if you have something in goals and
You got
objectives.
these?
I think so, yeah.
Just come in
I was
too.
looking at 8,
Okay,
this buyer beware, plat notes and areas identified as high fire risk. The whole city is high fire risk.
That sounds like changes that you proposed. There.
Oh, I don't make my.
Yes.
So what's the change that is proposed?
It's just removing the words identified as high fire risk, I'm just keeping the rest.
And that was language Alan added, I think, from
So which one are we on?
Flathead.
H.
That's a
RG.
I'm not
So,
sorry.
H.
So the, if I'm correctly.
well, there's
Yeah, go ahead.
there's higher fire risk areas than others. Right? So you could argue the whole thing's in the Louis, but I would argue that 40 and 93 is less of a fire risk than Big Mountain.
duly noted.
I include, but not only.
So that's why, so if you want to say extreme, you can, but there are areas of the city that are worse than.
And one of the things about our community wildfire protection plan is gonna identify the highest areas of fire risk. We have, I think, some goals and objectives that's specific to that in here. About when things are identified as the highest risk or the higher extreme risk areas have different standards or something. I don't remember reading that.
So it sounds like we can leave it as is and rely on the identification of extreme, high, medium. Basically, the city's gonna do anything.
Yeah,
What we're gonna do with the risk assessment.
So there's no motion to change that, so we're gonna move on. I don't see anything with an I.
There was a, hang on a second.
We don't have anything. While you look for it, I'm gonna go on to,
There was a sentence, wait, hang on just a second. I think there was a sentence that was not added, but let me just double check to make sure. Mitigated. Yeah, there was a sentence that was, I asked Alan this earlier. So on I, there was a sentence that Richard's group proposed that wasn't included. And Alan, he didn't think that there was any reason not to include it. Says, note that fire mitigation measures, once completed, must be maintained by the responsible party.
Sure. I mean, I don't have a problem. I said basically that we can't enforce maintenance of that. So he's just saying, but we can tell the homeowner.
that's a great point, but it should be in the narrative and not in an objective. It shouldn't be notes and objectives that don't relate specifically to the purpose of that objective.
That's a fair comment. Maybe we could include that back in
Okay.
to the narrative at some point. Is that acceptable? Okay, all right.
So is that-
Thank you. Good point.
We need to vote on it.
do we wanna look in the narrative to see where it could go? I'm not upset if we leave goals and objectives to add something to the narrative.
We would go, if I may interrupt you. 'Cause
Yeah,
like there is some language in there about the state has. See if we can find it faster.
this is tedious, but if we don't do it now, we're gonna
Go.
lose it
It's a good idea.
and
I
not,
think it's a good idea.
yeah.
So it would go. Oh, it would go in, I don't know what page you would have, because I have the whole thing, in the wildland urban interface.
That's what I was gonna say.
Page. if you wanted to add it, the appropriate place would be to say, the building standards are applied at time of building, this is the second paragraph down. Building standards are applied at time of building permit, building construction, but the state of Montana prohibits the city from further enforcement of woolly building code maintenance, including defensible space requirements. That would be the place to put it. if you
Note
want.
that fire mitigation measures, once completed, must be maintained by the responsible.
So say that again, please, sir.
Sure. Note that fire mitigation measures, once completed, must be maintained by the responsible parties. Once completed, must be maintained by the responsible parties. Perfect. Thank you,
All
sir.
right, all in favor of adding that to the body? Everybody's happy?
Yep.
Okay.
Good.
All right, so back to goals and objectives.
Jay?
Yes. So Jay. Flip my page over. So the question here is removing support commercial harvest and thinning of timber. It was consensus among those of us who talked about it earlier that we don't think this is an area to say support commercial harvest. We suggest support best practices for reduction of wildfire risk, because those best practices may change throughout time, whether it's better to remove commercially, who actually is doing it. So anybody can weigh in on that, but that would be removing commercial harvest and thinning and to reduce wildfire risk, but,
Again, now I'm just throwing bones out there to somebody that might be very interested. A couple of things we need to recognize here is the Whitefish Trail is built on DNRC land, and we support and we designed that thing so that they could continue to harvest off of those. So we're in favor of commercial harvesting as a general proposition, as a tool for minimizing. So again, I'm just throwing a bone out here. It seems to me that would not hurt us to say support best practices for the reduction of wildfire risk on public and private lands, including but not limited to commercial harvest and thinning where appropriate. And I like throwing a bone back out there, at least in my view, to assure people that we're not going back to the days of don't touch it. I'm okay if you touch it, don't make a mess of it. And don't clear cut it.
well, within best practices. And I didn't realize that relationship, so
Yeah.
that helps me understand why that was in there.
Yeah.
Which it may have been said, and I was tired. And
Then I know, but that's what's, and again,
Okay.
I can get by with the deed.
So that would be this, but adding in, best practices, including
Yeah, but not.
use, including,
Is that language?
Including without limitation, commercial harvest and thinning of timber.
included but not limited to commercial,
Well, that's fine.
yeah.
So the concern I had when making this suggestion in conjunction with others was that there's a lot of data out there that shows that commercial harvest and thinning actually increases the risk of rapidly spreading that fires in commercial areas like 2.5 times more prevalent than on commercial areas, and such as that they burn hotter. There's a lot of reasons why supporting commercial harvesting and thinning of timber under the science would suggest that that may not be a goal that we want to include in this plan, but
About which may include.
that's fine. I mean, I'm not arguing against making your change. I just want to explain why I feel it's important that it be here for the record.
Right.
Richard, do you have a
Just a comment,
comment?
talk about management practices.
Mhm.
The terminology is best management practices or BMPs.
Okay.
That's what everybody understands that's in that business. They
Thank you.
understand BMPs.
Okay, Can we change that to
Yeah.
best management practices? All right,
Stream side setbacks, no.
okay.
Cool.
All right, everyone agreeing on this, raise your hand. Anyone disagreeing? Yeah, loudly. Okay. Done.
Yeah, I still have problem highlighting commercial harvest. That's really quite controversial. I think we should just stick to supporting best management practices.
I guess it's just a nod to the Whitefish Trail system.
Well,
that's
that's probably
probably-
the case, and we're not changing their arrangement with state lands at all, so.
And I would also think Stoltz, right? I mean,
So, okay, so it's been moved, voted, you were in opposition. We're gonna move forward. Toby, anything? Okay. Yeah, I thought you were having something else. Okay, so moving on, goal number 2, unless anybody has anything on
I
K.
do.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. You said on K?
K, yeah,
No.
all right. So 2, the goal has been added to, go ahead, Scott.
So there, again, I'm looking at the, changes from Richard's organization. And, this adds the word assess or upgrade infrastructure, whereas in the previous draft version that Richard has here, it just says added the word upgrade infrastructure to increase safety before fire events occur. I do think the addition of the word assess or, it seems a little consistent. I mean, it's like you gotta choose between assessing or actually.
Just making an and rather than.
Okay, I like that, assess and upgrade. So we'll write this, have you type it, and then we'll vote on it. Does that make sense?
We're talking, was the whole big paragraph?
Goal number 2, unless you'd rather cut and
Well,
paste it
yeah.
later, I guess, but
The dandelion color piece should be 2A. That's an objective, not a goal.
Yeah, that would have been my first comment, is that's not a goal, that's an objective.
That's probably my fault.
If we want to have this discussion, I've got.
No, we're proposing that.
okay, so
2A.
is everyone happy with and instead of or? Yes, great, okay. All right, so there's a call for an addition to a, do one of you wanna present that?
Okay, so what
They're gonna make it.
did you say so for?
Yeah.
Oh, me, okay.
One of you, anybody?
Well, what I'm interested in here is, doing a feasibility analysis study on making Haskell Creek Road an alternative egress for Big Mountain, with a good 2-lane road. Now, the feasibility study, if we figure the condemnation cost and the cost of building the road, maybe it comes up to 20, 30, 40 million dollars. That's probably gonna be the end of the idea right there, because there's no entity present with the $40 million to do it. But I think it's been an idea that I've heard about for at least 30 years. And it doesn't seem like anybody has done a feasibility study on it. If so, Ellen would have cited it in the text. So I think we should do a quick and dirty study, nothing expensive. They don't have to design the road, but maybe we can get a figure for how many $1 million per mile to build one of that hillside. It's gonna be very high, but in the end, then we've at least looked at it. Because my impression from reading this is nobody's ever done a good analysis of this. So it'll be a rough estimate, quick and dirty kind of analysis, but at least then it's something that can be looked at and say, look, we'd love to do this, but it's $40 million. And we don't have any way to get the $40 million. It could be a state road in which the state or the county would have the condemnation authority to build it across Phillips land and the individual parcels down below. So but you'd have to get a state road number, it's gonna take years. It probably would involve some discretion of the Department of Transportation, whatever. But we should know this, we should know the answers to these questions. So that's what I'm proposing that we have this feasibility study for.
And then the last sentence is mine. Which relates to the discussion we're having throughout this whole thing, that if the secondary road is not actually constructed within the 5 years of the date of the approval of the land use plan, which would be the year, when the 5-year review, I thought about including the 3-year plan that we're approach that we're voluntarily choosing. That would be my preference, but I think that the 5 years is sort of in compliance with the state cycle and maybe more feasible. But the suggestion is that city council should consider implementing a public health and safety based moratorium on new construction within and throughout the future land use planning jurisdiction until construction of that road is actually completed.
The entire planning jurisdiction of the city would have a moratorium until that road's built.
No,
So it's,
in the future land use planning jurisdiction.
yeah, the planning jurisdiction.
Outside of the city.
I would accept, improvements to that description. We talked about
I
that.
would say on Big Mountain and within future land use planning jurisdiction. That way we're aiming at a Big Mountain.
I guess my first question is, and this is where I wish Angie was here. Have you researched the statutory laws around moratoriums? Not being an attorney, but living in other states, everything I've ever known is that a moratorium can only be for a public health and safety issue for 1 year. And you have to have some sort of result of that moratorium, like you legalize weed shops. You can, the taxpayers legalize weed shops, the city has a year to write zoning regulations to address it. You can't just put an open-ended moratorium.
No,
And I'm not an
it's
attorney
not suggesting, it's suggesting that the city consider it,
for a year then.
not implement it.
Well, I mean, we could put a year in there.
For a year, and then secondly, most of what we, so then we're talking about everywhere along Wisconsin, because
No,
most of the city limits ends when you get up to before you get to Big Mountain.
I'm suggesting that we limit it to Big Mountain and within the planning area.
Well, we can't do a moratorium somewhere that's not in the city.
What
It's not like
percentage are you talking about too?
It may be in the city by that time, right?
Well, but I mean, that's kind of we're talking about 20 years into the future, right? And that future land use planning map is the jurisdiction that we are looking at. My concern is that this egress will never get built. That construction will continue to flourish out there, new construction in the wildland urban interface, which is the word I had in the phrase I had in there earlier, but we decided to remove that. Because it probably wasn't specific enough, and that's verified by what Richard said about the whole city is in the WUI. But, as I said, I would welcome input on exactly where that is, but the intent on my part is that, people are gonna continue to build out there, and as we grow in that direction, we're gonna inherit all of these, liabilities that will definitely increase fire insurance premiums and, the cost of, suppression with, structure protection and all the things that go along with people building their homes in the woods. So that is my concern that I'm trying to address with it. If the language could be improved on, I certainly welcome suggestions.
So wouldn't that be more of an annexation policy?
I'm gonna let Toby. He's been
Well-
patient.
I propose, and maybe we can convert it into a motion, that on this section, we have goal, and then it's number 2. Assess or upgrade infrastructure to increase safety before fire events occur. Then, I suggest that we make objective, perhaps 2A or one of them listed as an objective, to rephrase this as develop a feasibility study and provide a rough preliminary design meeting state standards for a 2-lane road along Haskell Basin.
It could be, I mean, there's more than one way out of there, right?
Yeah.
You could connect Iron Horse to
Yeah.
Northwoods, for instance, to have a secondary.
Yeah, I mean, and
So I mean, Haskell Basin Road is, like, it's not both of those roads have public access easements on them.
So just.
However,
2-lane road.
Haskell Basin Road does not, it's private, completely privately owned, so without Stoltz involvement and there's no way that, they would ever agree to something like this. And so
Sure.
I don't know why you pigeonhole it to
no, I
Haskell
agree.
Basin Road. I think it should just say.
It's strike the word of the Haskell Basin
If the
Creek
city wants
Road.
to do it and the state wants to do it, the state can use condemnation authority across Stoltz land.
I've never
That-
seen them do that, but
The condemnation authority goes across any kind of private land. Ask all the ranchers that have roads built across their
I
land.
have to.
So there's no problem if the state wants to do it. and
Right.
has the money.
However,
So if we take out
My frustration.
of the.
of the Haskell Creek Road,
So then we just have,
full analysis of alternatives for Big Mountain emergency.
Haskell Creek Road alternative and other alternatives.
Provided what's planning designed for, I'm guessing, what we.
I would be personally more comfortable with full analysis of alternatives for Big Mountain emergency egress. Because I am aware that there are a whole host, I mean, we start talking about condemnation against Stoltz, that's extreme.
Gonna trigger them to.
That's not my intention.
I spent my career in a law firm that defended landowners in condemnation cases.
Yeah, and Dale.
I tried these cases. I know what they're like.
And you can win them, right? But they are also extremely controversial,
You win almost all of them because the state never offers market value.
right?
But that's what the trial is about.
okay,
But
so,
the state
But not my
law of
intention.
condemnation is extremely broad.
I would think that that's what
we're.
that could be part of what we study, but I don't think that's implicit in what I'm suggesting as a solution. What I'm saying is if we study it, right, and we give some guidance about what that's, the way we should study, including all the suggestions that you proffered, right? What I want to do is, if we don't put some sort of a deadline with some sort of a consequence on this whole thing, then there won't be any way to move people towards finding a solution. But if in fact, city council should consider imposing a moratorium under whatever the law is at that period of time, maybe the law will say no moratorium, right? Maybe the standard isn't high enough. But if all we're asking the council to do is to consider that, and it's in the plan, that's a box they need to check at that point, 5 years from now, if we don't have this problem solved, right? Then you put a moratorium on new construction within a year, maybe that will get people, off the dime and get something. Because right now, it's been, like John, I've seen this for 30 years up here. I litigated on the mountain about this for almost 2 decades.
I don't think you could put a moratorium on new construction. You probably could on new subdivisions, but if there's an existing lot and somebody owns it,
No,
I don't know, any way in hell that you'd be able to stop somebody from building something on there if they.
Well, part of considering it is getting a memo from the city attorney as to what we can do. But putting the word moratorium in our growth policy will get people's attention, and that's what it's intended to do. The city council has every bit of discretion it wants to use. All they have to do is consider it. 10 minutes at a meeting.
so basically we're saying, develop a feasibility study for alternative routes of Big Mountain egress and consider a building moratorium to be determined,
I'd make it two separate things.
2 separate things.
One.
Okay,
Yeah.
And there is a policy about using a transportation.
The moratorium, that is gonna work.
Okay.
so the first thing that we're considering is, this is suggested and then Toby kind of reworded it. Develop a feasibility study and preliminary design for a 2-lane alternative egress for Big Mountain.
Fine. Design
Okay.
for a, sorry,
2-lane alternative egress for Big Mountain,
From,
from Big Mountain, yeah, egress from.
I'm fine with that.
So that
No
could
problem.
be,
And I agree,
That's,
that
Break
could be
them into two,
Haskell, that
so
could
that
be
people have a chance to
something else.
evaluate both separate. I
Right.
agree.
And then if you have, if you want a second objective, your city council implementing public health safety rules, regulations, moratorium. First thing you're gonna get is sued.
Well, not necessarily. I mean,
City council can just say.
if they impose it, there may be legal consequences, right? We're not suggesting that they have to impose it.
So there
Right.
is an
Suggesting that-
objective in the transportation section, which you should just give you some, which you haven't seen yet. This says pursue and prioritize options for reliable alternative access out of the Big Mountain community and discourage new development which relies on Haskell Basin Road and presently developed for secondary emergency access.
that's just pursue, it's not, doing a study.
Well, that was one of the reasons I wanted to see the transportation plan before this, right? Because I knew that there would be,
Part of the downside of doing sections at a time,
I understand.
but that, so I can put it up for you to see it, but that is in the
I
transportation.
appreciate the input, and I understand that that would be in there. I would like us to vote separately on the concept. And,
And hazards due to the public health and safety risk of.
not having alternative
having-
secondary egress.
Okay,
So what I'm hearing is city council should consider implementing a public health and safety based more to that last sentence. Would you like to propose that as is?
I think we should, vote on the first.
Yeah,
First.
I thought we did.
Did we?
Okay, I really did. Okay,
City council should consider implementing a,
Well,
Hang on, there's back to the
let's
first one.
get on.
sorry, we're just gonna
Need to vote
say,
on the first one.
is everyone,
Vote on the first.
everyone in favor of A up there? The develop feasibility study and preliminary design for two-lane alternative egress from Big Mountain?
Yeah.
Everyone in favor, raise your hand. Okay.
Should we say in the event of fire?
Four,
for, what was it, in case of, well,
two against. Okay,
what was, I'm sorry, I was
Go ahead.
not paying attention. What was the vote?
What did you,
4-2.
you win?
So that will stay in.
I wasn't sure when I raised my hand again. I'm sorry.
Okay, so now we're on to potential moratorium. City
I-
council should consider. Go ahead, since this is yours. How would you like it worded?
Well, I would just say if a secondary emergency egress from Big Mountain is not actually, from Big Mountain is not actually constructed within 5 years of the date of approval of the land use plan, city council should consider implementing a public health and safety-based moratorium. Now, you had mentioned, on new construction, there was an alternative to that. If you hadn't,
Really new subdivisions.
on,
Lots, it's
I would go to
discretionary
that.
on the council's part, but,
I would say
but when it comes to building permits, I mean,
on new subdivisions. How would you say that? New subdivisions? I would take that amendment.
Well, new construction would be building permits, which, under the right circumstances, the city could place a moratorium on.
So within 5 years of the, adoption of this land use plan?
Within and throughout the future land use planning jurisdiction. I said within and throughout the future land use planning jurisdiction.
that's
You're
not
saying-
specific enough. When I read that, that means the entire planning jurisdiction.
I understand that.
Changing.
So what would you suggest as
I don't know.
more specific?
I don't know what the boundary, geographic boundary of what you're suggesting, yeah, so. But when you say planning jurisdiction, that means the entire,
Haskell Basin?
this Big Mountain, Haskell Basin.
Well, I would say outside city limits and within that remainder within the future land use planning jurisdiction,
Okay.
which extends beyond.
We can put that in there. Keep it, again, I remind you. There is a Big Mountain master plan that's been approved. We cannot change. We will not change. So any development that was scheduled for that is gonna happen.
Does the master plan include an egress?
I don't know that he does. But again, the other thing is that to the extent that that area, if it is gonna get developed, Stoltz for some reason sells it and they're gonna develop it, they may not incorporate themselves into the city and we don't get to play. We don't have, now we could talk about whether the city should approve any development up there absent a secondary egress. That's a different issue. But again, I can't have, or the city is not gonna have the capacity to exercise a moratorium over property that is not incorporated in the city. This is a practical.
No, I hear, I
We
understand,
understand that, but
we do. My first thought is annexation under our 20-year agreement with Big Mountain is on the table. We don't know how that's gonna go,
right,
right? I think this is an exceptionally important issue in that annexation discussion. Are we gonna annex Big Mountain without this alternative egress, or is that gonna be their problem, or
I
what?
think we're having to do a feasibility study on whether we can annex Big Mountain, what it's gonna cost us with regard to, utilities, road maintenance, all those things.
we're currently doing
And
that.
that,
But, yeah,
It has always been kind of the general assumption that in exchange for giving them our reserve water and sewer capacity 20 years ago, so they could do development early, that at the end of that 20-year period, the city would annex them in. Well, circumstances may have changed between then and now, right? So we don't really, annexation is not a given anymore.
Right, nor is the master plan a given. You can't just say, it's not in the master plan, it won't happen. This is 20 years into the future and,
5 years, actually.
Yeah,
So am I,
581.
am I hearing you, Frank, say you don't like the word moratorium, but you would prefer to say consider whether or not to approve new
Yeah.
development?
in that,
I think similar language that we were
I
having.
already wrote that language, again, I can show you that language.
I'm just, you guys, I think there's some motivation to do that here, but I'm just telling you, there's a practical traits on what we.
There's a whole lot of practical strengths, right? And I recognize that they're endless,
Shock value versus
but I do think that,
practicality.
this plan is our recommendation to the city council.
and
There's some similar
This is
language
our-
that we're talking about.
If we pass it, it's our opinion.
so is that
Our recommendation.
pursue and prioritize options for reliable alternate access out of the Big Mountain community and discourage new significant development which relies
It may change.
on Aspen roads presently developed. I mean, that's good.
That's in the transportation section, you're saying, because that's more of a transportation issue, right?
We haven't gotten all our comments back. Monday.
Right, I have gotten comments back from agencies and they don't have an issue with this.
Flathead County.
Flathead County, the only comment I got from Flathead County is we're not gonna work with you on Edgewood, you have to annex that if you want to pass it. That's what Flathead County said. We're not gonna, they said, we're not gonna coordinate with you, we don't have any money if you want to annex, that's what Flathead County said. Not the pathways. So nobody commented on this.
We can vote on the moratorium motion, see where it goes, and then we'll go from there. Is that okay? We've kind of talked
Sure.
about this a lot. Everybody knows.
I would change on new construction to, based on new subdivisions, new subdivision approvals. And a nod to Dave's concern.
Okay.
And also under state law and MLUPA, there won't really be subdivision approval through public process if it's zoned for that. And
I don't think there is.
I mean, if it's zoned for it in the subdivision,
There's no more public hearings.
yeah. so-
Well, but this would still guide the city's
Well,
approach and interpretation.
But that's something to be
It
talked
would
about.
guide the zoning administrator's interpretation. And it would, my concern is I would like to see this word moratorium in this growth policy. Because I do think that it is what will drive the public into trying to achieve what we all recognize is a solution that we must have. And we haven't been able to get it done. And you know, I don't wanna be sitting here 6 years from now, looking up at that, you know, mountain just burned over and the headlines nationally that said, you know, hundreds of people trapped and burned to death. So I take this extremely seriously. And, you know, I think that we need to get people's attention. And if we put some sort of a consequence here, that, I do think a health and safety based moratorium, is, could be justified in law under the proper circumstances. And I'm not suggesting anything else, right? So, that's, and that should be considered at the time, if 5 years from this date, we haven't solved this problem. So yes, I would like to make a motion.
Okay, so let's get the end of your sentence up there.
It
Should consider-
is correct, I don't know how much of it is right.
The beginning of that is right.
Moratorium.
Should consider implementing, I'm sorry, let me catch up with you here. A public health and safety based moratorium. On new construction, or I'm sorry, on new subdivision approvals.
Yeah, the Iron Horse and the Tizzy, if it was new construction, but there's probably like 50, 60 lots that aren't developed up there.
But they're platted, right?
What's that?
They're platted,
They're already platted.
so, not Dak and Iron Horse for sure. I have within and throughout the future land use planning jurisdiction, I would say beyond Whitefish city limits, or the best, outside the city boundary.
So you would include the area on the west side, you'd include the areas to the south of this that are in future land use, not just the areas that are on the north side up on the.
Any place, I guess,
I'm just.
no, that's a good, and
Should we just
I'm not-
north of the city limit?
Do that, so. How do we do a moratorium outside the city limits? I'm really confused. I don't understand. We can't.
because we have a future land use planning jurisdiction that extends beyond city limits. Correct?
Correct.
I've never been able to get anyone to tell me what that boundary is, but I know that there is one,
We haven't determined it yet. That's land use.
That's why. Okay? So I really can't be specific in that regard at this point. I don't think.
Well, I think,
Well, and also the.
Hang on, John, let me hear from Frank, please.
I'm not saying to support it, but what you seem to be talking about or concerned about, and the only thing that would be affected about by an additional route off of Big Mountain would be any development that is up on the face of Big Mountain or below it. You're not worried about what happens over on the east side of Whitefish. You're not worried
Correct.
about developing.
That's
what's
correct.
going south. You're not worried about what's necessarily west of you. So what you're talking about are the areas that,
Northeast of Whitefish,
yes, that
the northeastern portion of the.
Right.
That that's helpful, thank you. Of the northeastern section of the future land use planning jurisdiction.
I'm worried about, on Big Mountain and within the land use planning jurisdiction, that would seem to cover it. Is Haskell Creek considered on Big Mountain? Think so,
Well, that's the big
That's what it
mountain
really
land use planning area, because I think what
okay,
Alan and Dave are concerned about is that being an area that has nothing to do with Big Mountain. The future land use plan area is.
Yeah, I mean, our future land use map doesn't include Haskell Basin.
so that would include the city as well as outside of the city in the planning jurisdiction.
Annexation policy.
Big Mountain may be one.
It's really an annexation policy.
Kind of an annexation policy, it's
That's really
also,
where we should focus.
it's gonna encourage people to subdivide in the county and not. come to the city.
We won't annex you unless, I mean, that's really, because we can control out of the city.
And I think the mental exercise we're having here, at least in my mind, is the city council should consider a moratorium in these areas to the extent applicable, and they were either annexed or within the city of, what, is that? Just
How about just to the extent applicable?
to the extent that we would have, to the extent
To the full legal authority, the extent of the city's legal authority to do so.
or something along that line.
Applicable jurisdiction.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, and again, a moratorium is good for 1 year, or you have to solve it. I don't know how it gets solved in a year.
or you build a road.
At least start building.
well, again, couple things. Again, we can put this in here. I'm just gonna, and I'm fine with that. Again, I may not go for it, but I'm fine with that. But just keep in mind that we in the state of Montana, and particularly as it applies to the city of Whitefish, do not build or fund the building of roads. It's done one of two ways. It's done through development. And it's done through, the state decides they want to.
Right.
That's the only way it happens in the state. There are other places in this country where they pre-built them. And they said, this is where we want our development to go. We don't have that money, and it's, again, this is a practical thing. That doesn't mean we shouldn't say it, that you don't want to say it, but again, I'm spitballing here, just to put some context in that.
My response would be this. The development that's gonna be going on up there would be of the subdivision nature.
Sure.
Which
Which
would,
would be the ones that would build the road.
Right.
and they would be.
But the moratorium would be on the subdivision, so it's like a catch-22, because you can't approve a subdivision, but the subdivision is the one that would actually build the road, because that'd be the requirement. of the subdivision.
There's a way through that.
They build it before the 5
That's the way
years.
we get roads built, is with new subdivisions.
And I think that my proposal takes that into consideration, certainly.
Throw it up there, like I said.
I don't expect necessarily that council's gonna approve this any more than they would maybe wanna consider whether or not we have move fireworks off the lake. But I do think that this is a discussion that the council should have in
Sure.
consideration of this plan.
No,
And I'm hopeful that for that reason, we will pass it here and leave it to council.
so, like I said,
Okay.
put it in there and, to the extent that they don't wanna approve it, that's fine. And, through the public comment process of approving this, it may or may not make it through that, at the planning board level. We'll just see. But.
It could be changed
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
and improved upon, I hope.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm happy.
All right,
Perfect.
so let's go ahead and vote on this.
So do you
have it was correct?
Stands.
Pardon?
Is that language correct?
Let me see. Secondary egress from Big Mountain is not established in 5 years of adoption of this committee plan. Is that what we're calling it, community? I mean, that's one of the names, community plan. All right.
Vision like a community plan.
All right, okay. City council should consider implementing a public health and safety based, based, is it public moratorium?
Public
Moratorium,
health and safety based moratorium, yeah.
moratorium on new subdivision approvals in the northeastern section of the future land use planning jurisdiction.
How about north and east?
But
North and east.
Planning jurisdiction.
If that's the correct term, if that's what
I
we're
think we
talking,
call, well, there was a lot of discussion about this earlier, I think we call it planning boundary.
Planning.
planning boundary.
I think we call it the planning boundary.
Yeah.
Okay, that would be better, then please.
Are you
Thank you.
happy with northeastern, or do you want north and northeastern?
A north and east section, maybe,
North and east?
sections. Is that too broad? I mean, this is general, right? I mean, I'm not trying to,
Again, write it the best you can. Again, when this comes back to a public hearing,
Well, here,
hey, you want to amend it at that time, that'll be an opportunity as well.
Alright.
It's like, I don't wanna push us through and do something wrong, but it's like, okay, we can't, drafting it at this kind of level is really hard.
This is good enough for me.
Okay,
Okay.
so all in favor of this being added? Raise your hands. Okay, 4, all against, 2 against. All right, it's gonna stay in.
So I need to go. I have to work at 7 tomorrow. I trust you guys on the rest of it. I did want to make, just a public comment or just a comment about the land use visioning session. Is there gonna be an opportunity for more than just one, visioning session next month, or is it only gonna
We
be on?
talked about maybe doing 2 in the same evening. They're also gonna have an online option people will be able to do later to have input.
Okay.
So it's not just that night, but it's kind of limited unless we did it on Tuesday and Wednesday. It's the only other available night, so it's something we're still working out.
Okay, my input is more, days is better. Thank you guys.
Thanks, Mallory.
Thanks, Mallory.
All right.
Thank
So
you.
that's down, to, okay,
So,
so the old A. Now,
2,
which would now be C.
The moratorium, and A becomes C.
Grade separated railroad crossing at East Second Street. Statewide no viaduct has yet been built and provide a rough preliminary design that meets state and federal standards for a viaduct. Identify the entity or entities that will pay for a viaduct and provide a cost estimate. This is just expanding upon grade separated railroad crossing at East Second.
So stating why no viaducts in the bill is an objective.
In addition to pursuing opportunities for, that's what's being suggested.
this, I think, was a section, this is probably my drafting error, and it was a very, the previous section is 2A. This is the 2A, and I don't know, John, if you wanted to add this at the end of that, or how you wanted those to go together, I couldn't
Well,
tell.
this is C, and I think it belongs under or after the sentence that is there.
Okay,
I would say do a feasibility study, period, and then state why no viaduct has yet been built, give basically is giving the history, have a rough design, rough cost, and see how we see how much it may cost and who would have to pay for it. Again, this is something that's probably very expensive, and there may be no money for it, but the need for this viaduct has come up over and over again in what I've heard here. And so let's do a rough and dirty study on it.
It's not included in the existing objective of pursuing opportunities. I mean, I think Public Works is already working on that right now.
Yeah,
so would there be any reason not to include it?
BNSF is really kind of, on the federal government, is why one hasn't been built yet.
Well, the public needs to know that. We need a statement from the city as to what the status of this is, what the history is, what it may cost.
And the objectives,
Yes, it's an objective.
but why would this,
The objective is.
why
to
was
do a
that
study.
be in the objective? That's my question.
That's the-
Objective should be, what this is what we're gonna do. We should explain why we're doing it in the body of the text. And the objective is a goal that we can establish this, we need to accomplish this, which pursuing opportunities. Maybe it needs more language in there, like
Okay,
pursue
so
opportunities and
we
do a
can,
feasibility study. But
say, give the history of this proposal.
I don't think that we need to give a history. I don't think we need to do a study. I think pursue opportunities for a grade separated railroad on East Second Street is enough of an objective. We don't need to do another study or a thing or tell people it's old news.
Well, there's no study. If there had been a study, Alan would have cited it. We
Why
need
would
to tell
we
the
do a study?
public what is the history of this, what's the problem with it, why it hasn't happened,
it's actually been
whether it's feasible.
in our transportation plans, like the last 3 transportation plans that we've done have talked about grade separating crossings. Why it hasn't been done? Because of the cost. I mean, Probably 20 million to 50 million bucks.
Let me ask you this, Dave.
And then who's gonna pay for it?
Good.
So would this be covered by language in the transportation study?
It's
that
gonna
we've
be
not
covered.
yet seen?
I mean, there's discussion about the viaduct, there's some discussion that, right now, we're working on a federal, we have a grant and we're working on, we're doing a study. For what type of grade separated crossing there is.
Most cost effective.
Yeah, right, thank you. So that grant is already happening and that study is already occurring.
Okay,
Well, is this really a fire issue anyway?
No, the viaduct, a second viaduct was the number one noted improvement in the public visioning for the city of Whitefish. More people said they want a second viaduct, they didn't say. The,
Convenience.
say during visioning, well, everything,
If it was-
convenience, fire.
If it's principally fire, it probably should
But-
be here, but if it's principally for other reasons,
But-
it should be in the transportation section.
When we've been doing visioning, right, all of the comments that viaduct was the most number one mentioned improvement, it was all in transportation comments, and it wasn't about, some of it was about fire safety, but more people were complaining about traffic congestion.
Well, maybe we should just move the whole thing to
Well, it
transportation.
is being discussed.
I think that's what I'm saying. I think it is being, this is being addressed. I don't know that you want to necessarily eliminate that one sentence description, just because, it does relate, I think.
so let's call the question on this. Anybody who wants to add something to this objective? Do you want your motion to stand as it's written here, or would you like to amend?
No, I'm thinking it should be in the transportation
Okay,
section now.
so then we'll not deal with this. Okay,
Nobody moves.
great. So C, given a 1 hour warning for an incoming fire, analyze whether,
I'm sorry, Brittany, I did have one in that B.
go ahead.
Just added language at the end of that sentence that, FFRG proposed that was not included here, that says, in case of a fire emergency at the end of that sentence, south of Whitefish.
Pursue opportunities for a grade separated railroad crossing at the second in case of a fire.
This is number
Or
B.
B,
B, begin negotiations with BNSF OB for alternative accesses into Birch Point and across rail yards separating north and south Whitefish in case of a fire emergency.
The reason why we didn't add that is because there's multiple reasons why we're looking at that, fire emergency only being one of them. There's also chemical spills, there's also people just being stuck in traffic congestion, so that's why we didn't want to say fire emergency.
Okay,
Actually, chemical spills, something like that are probably a bigger concern. in-
tanker fire. I mean, yeah,
So that's why we didn't say, there could be numerous reasons why you're blocking into the train.
Could we just say alternative emergency access?
or emergency access.
yes,
There's emergency.
that sounds
Yeah,
good.
there you go.
So adding the word
Emergency.
Emergency between alternative and access. Thank you.
Well, the hope is it's not just emergency access, it's actually an access.
Well, if it's across the
It'll
rail
become
repairs,
Yeah, they're
you're not gonna
gonna.
get a
That's
permanent
what I
access.
keep thinking.
Just.
No, that's
it
good.
Goes over the top, yeah.
Thank
We
you.
already talked about in the A above, so.
All right, so everybody agrees adding that, Dave,
Agreed.
all around,
Yeah.
great. Okay, so moving on to C, the suggestion here is to add, given a 1 hour warning for an incoming fire, analyze whether and how Wisconsin Avenue can safely evacuate all vehicles from East Lakeshore Drive and Big Mountain. So this is asking for a study, where earlier did we say, who suggested 1 hour?
Commenter named Lutz, Lutes,
Okay.
and I took this from his comment. And again, I don't see much on evacuation routes or procedures in the text.
Community wildfire
Hopefully,
protection plans, address that kind of stuff, not.
I can't hear what
So the community wildfire protection plan, that's one of the things it's gonna look at.
It's even bigger than
it's
this.
going to look at.
The,
We need to know what the evacuation routes are for a fire next year. So I think we should do it as, so part of this plan with, as an objective to get
I live out of
evacuation routes
Wisconsin.
done.
There's only one evacuation route, Wisconsin,
Right.
and over the line,
Right.
unless you want to take East End.
And how to manage Wisconsin.
And Columbia Falls. So why don't we need to do a study of where the evacuation route,
Well, for one reason, it's not the only evacuation route.
where else do you get?
Through the rail yard.
There's a much bigger issue than that. And
You have
that's what I was
going
pointing.
railroad yards and over the railroad tracks.
Under.
It's a huge
They're around
liability
under.
issue for the city, including
It's
what
alternative,
the city
but-
attorney has also agreed. It's a huge liability issue for the city. The city is not going to say that we are gonna say Wisconsin can safely evacuate all, that puts us in a huge liability issue. The attorney is strongly recommending
Well, the
against that.
truth is it probably isn't.
It might not be, but
But there's gonna be a lot of, methods that can be used. Turn Wisconsin on an emergency basis into 2 lanes one way and 1 lane going the other way. Or, you
It's only two
know,
lanes.
there are lots
But is
of
this-
possibilities
Is
here.
this what last time they said the fire department has all of these plans?
Yep.
They're just not going to tell us until the emergency happens? Is that what I've heard on this?
No, I mean, that's true in the sense that
Until an emergency happens where they know
Right.
what the plan.
you don't know
will be.
which way the wind's blowing, which way, where the fire is. I mean, there's so many factors that go
what
into.
time of year, what time of day.
So have they basically done this because they have to have,
Well, they
that's
haven't
my question.
got the detail
They're
of,
not gonna say it's adequate. They're not gonna say it's adequate for emergency evacuation. They're not gonna say it. That puts us in a terrible.
But it's the
position.
best that they have a
Mm-hmm.
plan, it's the best that we have right now, and then we're working on the wildfire protection program. Okay,
It seems like the public would have a right to know
They
what
do,
the evacuation
They
routes
do.
are.
they do.
I don't. It's not in the text here, and
That's
there's no
not where it
document
is.
referenced.
That's not where it is.
Well.
Is there an
we should
emergency?
have Referenced where it is so that a person can find it.
Am I happy with it? No, but there is one.
okay, so,
I mean, and I think that, again, make your motion, but the assess existing and potential evacuation routes. Check. Particularly those on unpaved forest roads. Check. Determine and improve strategies that could improve ingress needed to provide directional information. Okay, that's kind of what we do. Now, this last sentence says, given the 1 hour warning, okay? I won't want to say it's kind of redundant. We may want to say, more widely publicized how Wisconsin Avenue can be used, it might be used, for evacuation. I mean, that might be something we can do but the analyze whether and how Wisconsin Avenue can be safe, evacuate all vehicles. That's kind of been done. I mean, that's what the fire department's been working on for several years now. They've given their best shot at it. And that's kind of what we got.
until we have a community.
Well, there's no reference to a document. I mean, if somebody's interested in this, somebody listening to our meeting, they're gonna be in the same position we are. We don't know what the document is. We've never seen it.
Well, okay, again, you get to write whatever you want, but I'll tell you that something that can work would be as a objective, further publicize how Wisconsin Avenue can
Well,
can be used to evacuate. Or will be used, yeah, will be used to evacuate.
Is that a separate objective?
No.
I
Yes,
think you could augment C, the original language
Thank
of
you,
C with
Richard.
that.
Oh, you have a comment? Okay.
I
Sure,
think
go ahead.
that the 1 hour is unnecessary.
Unnecessary,
No.
okay.
Plans would have evacuation zones, and people should be notified by zone in plenty of time. Yeah, you evacuate by zone in time to make an effective evacuation.
Okay,
That's the way that normally would work. So that, in other words, let's say, I'm just gonna make something up here. The Ptarmigan, Big Mountain Ptarmigan is zone 1. Zone 1 might have to have a shelter in place. The zone 2 may be anything in the flat before you get up to the big mountain, or, say, we're gonna evacuate zone 2. That's the way that.
it might not all say it needs to go on Wisconsin Avenue. A lot of people might have to shelter in place, or there might be other things that they do. So I mean, Wisconsin isn't necessarily the A choke route, you know, it just depends on the situation and the incident.
Okay. So we have a suggestion to say widely publicize, or is that your suggestion, Frank?
If
say
one,
one.
if,
Instead of saying given 1 hour,
yeah,
because that was something from a public comment that seemed like,
yeah.
yeah,
No, I think it is fair and it's something I think everybody, Don's a perfect example. I kind of know how Wisconsin's gonna be used. I kind of know how that's gonna go. But if somebody, you know, maybe it might be fair for us or for it to be recommended here that we further publicize evacuation routes or something along that line. I mean, that's fair, something we can do.
can we just say potential emergency roadway plans or like
Evacuation process.
evacuation routes? Okay,
I don't think the
So-
fire department was gonna know what those evacuation routes are until the incident happens, because
No, I agree with you, Dave, but what I'm suggesting is if this is important, we'll figure it out. But if the gravamen issue here is how Wisconsin Avenue is gonna be used for evacuation purposes, we kind of, if we're gonna use Wisconsin for evacuation, we kind of know what we're gonna do with it. And so people probably ought to know. And if they don't,
thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
so that's fair. I think that's a fair recommendation. Because what we've seen is there's public out there that doesn't understand how it's gonna be used, if it's gonna be used for evacuation. That's a when and if. Okay? So maybe that's a recommendation we can make.
Okay, publicize evacuation routes, given a warning for an incoming fire. And analyze whether and how Wisconsin Avenue can be used to evacuate, not safely, all vehicles from East Lakeshore Drive and Big Mountain.
when it should be limited to there, or if there's a fire on Lion Mountain, you know. And it applies to a lot of different areas of the city,
If there's
depending on the incident,
National basin.
Well,
yeah. I mean, it all depends on where it's at, right?
Yeah, and the whole bit about advance notice, that's the job of the fire department. If there's a fire.
They'll let you know.
goes out. You don't have to put a time limit on it or a time specific thing.
Okay,
You know,
so,
they have that ruling behind them.
They go door to door and let you know. They got evacuated.
we're saying that this should be publicized.
okay, so read your motion again and we'll take a
Okay.
vote and go.
Publicize evacuation routes, given a warning for an incoming fire, and analyze whether and how Wisconsin Avenue can be used to evacuate all vehicles from East Lakeshore Drive and Big Mountain.
Could you read that one more time, please?
Oh, I'm sorry, went too fast.
We haven't proved it yet.
I know, but I'm just trying to get the language at least.
Publicize evacuation routes, given a warning for an incoming fire, and analyze whether and how Wisconsin Avenue can be used to evacuate all vehicles from East Lakeshore Drive and Big Mountain.
While he's typing, can I ask Frank you a question real quick? Sure. What if any, part does our trail system, paved trail system and down along River and Lake and those passenger bridges, do they play in that evacuation plan? I know that the Sky Bridge
Yeah.
isn't, designed to carry vehicles in that situation, but could possibly do that. Is that right?
Is my recollection was the Sky Bridge that goes over to First Point was designed to be able to carry an ambulance,
Okay,
supposedly.
right,
Whether it can carry 50 cars is like,
right.
forget about it.
And we're gonna encounter that same situation with the, I don't know what else to call it, but the Zinke development over the Caro development they're gonna try and do.
Well, that won't even be
They
near
said
this.
that could carry a gator. Right, one of those emergency, like, side by side vehicles. Somebody said that in our
Like
meeting,
a side by side.
that is side by side. could
That's what
go-
it was designed for, is the
Yeah,
off-road, whatever.
Why wouldn't we be requiring, a beefier structure? I mean, there may be reasons, right?
The cost of it is expensive.
Yeah.
As it was.
Your tax dollars are hard at work already.
Well, why wouldn't the developer be,
Well,
City put
can
that
we
in.
just call the question and?
Yeah.
Get the vote here.
Yeah.
okay, so as this is written, those in favor, raise your hand. Okay, one opposed. Okay, too specific for me. We can work on it though. Okay, so under floodplains, oh, and we had, sorry, the one goal that we added last time that went somewhere was we switched it to D, which I don't know where that would be now. Sorry, so not
Which
flood,
section?
not floodplains, but back under number 2. Goal 2, assess and upgrade infrastructure.
Well, it's goal. And then under objectives, we went to the, develop a plan for evacuation from the mountain.
We had prioritize. I just can't read it. Prioritize a secondary egress for Big Mountain. That's what it,
I think that's kind of what we were,
prioritize pursuing a secondary egress for Big Mountain,
right, I think it was something.
but we wanted it as a separate objective.
Right.
So that's what it was. I believe I proposed it and I said, objective under 2, objective A was this. And then we did a second one, so that on the paper that you have in front of you, the one that says A, pursue opportunities for a great separate thing, that would actually be C at this
Yeah.
point. Am I correct?
So we had it as A and then we moved it down so that it was under. I can't, I mean, this is from the U. So I can't,
The first thing that we did on this,
That would be-
under 2.
It was-
accomplished.
it was under assess,
Objectives under goal number 2.
yeah, goal number 2. It was an objective, it was under the assess
So
existing,
we just added that objective A, develop a feasibility study and preliminary design for a 2-lane alternative egress from Big Mountain. Doesn't that
Yeah.
accomplish that?
And then was there a B?
Well, yeah, if the secondary access is not established, then
And then C is pursue opportunities for a great separated? Yep. Okay, and then B,
yeah,
negotiations with the, okay, I
okay,
just wanted to clarify it for our next.
Yeah.
that
however it is.
they're all there.
It looks
It's
like,
just everything was moved down because he made a new A and a new B.
Yeah.
So now A is now C, B is now.
To the extent it was my wording or prioritize.
This.
This works for me, I can live with it.
okay,
I think it gets it. where I said.
sounds good to
And
me.
then,
All right, so,
Madam Chair, I do have one.
yes, go ahead.
So in the FFRG proposed changes, under, 2C of the original numbering, there was proposed language that said assess and evaluate existing and potential evacuation routes prior to the issuance of building permits in high-risk areas. That was not included in the graph. Yes, Alan?
And the reason why that wasn't included is because if you've already got an entitled property, we can't deny you, if you've already got an entitled piece of property that you can build on, we can't deny you a building permit. If you meet the, and it's not gonna get better under state law, if you meet the setbacks and if you meet the height, we have to issue a building.
Well, it doesn't require it as a condition of approval. But what it does say is assess and evaluate the evacuation and routes prior to the issuance of building permits in high-risk areas. But it doesn't make it contingent.
that accomplish if we can.
Well, it certainly would, it's notice, right? I mean, you wanna build a place, fine, but you're not getting out of there to catch a fire.
Every building permit that's submitted in Iron Horse, because there is no secondary evacuation route, we would have to try to hold it up, encourage them to do something different, talk to their HOA. I mean, what would staff be doing in this situation? We already have language about looking at, like, alternative.
Well, this was my suggestion.
But that's why we didn't put it in there, because we can't hold up a building permit for that, so.
A lot of people in Iron Horse are out of state. And they are clueless as to something like, one single road for evacuation. They need to know about it. Maybe it should be evaluated. You can have some standard language that you attach to the building permit. Think that's doable.
Well, and we know
already have
that
some-
when we said,
platinums.
yeah,
Yeah.
the buyer beware.
Yeah.
We talked about
That's
that
true.
We'll
earlier.
figure out when they drive up to their property.
And we said
You
it
go
would-
to Wisconsin.
It would be assessed
Would you think
at
that
a
would be
risk
redundant?
level.
Would you think that this would be redundant with what we said earlier about caveat emptor?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, that's good enough for me.
We,
all right, but it's good to raise
they
the.
tried to implement as many times as they could from FFRG, but some of them didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Well, I do want to highlight which ones were and were not included, because at the beginning of the meeting, when I asked, you said that they were all included, and as it turns out, that's not the case. And I'm just trying to clarify why. Thanks.
Okay, so we have E, prepare an analysis of high groundwater in the lakes area, state the history data, studies done, location where repairs have been made and remedies recommended. This is talking about floodplains. Fulfilling the city's commitment to National Flood Insurance Program is the goal. So,
That's not.
What'd you see that second part?
Well, some portions of the lake are in the floodplain along the Whitefish River, but that whole area that's in the floodplain is mitigated by a conservation easement and a city park that they put in, the entire floodplain's in along the river there. But the lakes was built on a pond that friends of mine duck hunted on, so the entire thing, it was poorly engineered. And I'm just trying to figure out what's the point of this objective. We already know everything's on high ground, we already require everything to be built in those areas. I just highly encourage everyone to do slab on grade development, because any crawl space is gonna get flooded in there. Currently, everybody that builds in there mounds up their property, every driveway in there. Like, notice that even though it's flat, is the only way they can build is to do that.
It seems like that would also go in the shallow groundwater.
I mean, yeah, we
Which
should
is
go under
floodplain.
floodplain, but I just don't, I don't see the point of it personally, but.
Environmental hazard, people have had to replace their crawl spaces with slab on grade. Maybe we should mention it in our new policy.
The plat
Or
states
somewhere.
that, when that thing was platted on that subdivision, there's a plat note that says that, every property should be built slab on grade. The city council put that in there because they knew it was high groundwater when that was approved. So any buyer should read the plat note before he builds on there, and let them know that too, when they come in for their building permits.
That
But-
does something. Okay.
but I don't know that we need to do an analysis of that.
all right, so I think that was the last edit of note. Anything further on this? Seeing nothing? All right, so, board direction to staff.
Are we taking a vote on that then?
No.
No, because,
Just withdrawn it.
I
Yeah.
thought we were taking a vote that these were done. That's what
oh,
Angela
you mean
requested.
in totality, yeah, so
What the,
that's,
Angela requested, you
yeah.
can take a vote on these when they're done.
so,
Let's make sure that.
I think we've been voting on them individually, which is what we thought.
Which was voted down, isn't in there.
No, and this happened at a previous meeting, you guys did this on water qualities, Angie requested, when you're done with it, you should vote on it. That you're done with that section.
As amended this evening.
Yes,
Until it comes back.
because,
Yeah.
because Angie's concern was having more comments brought up over and over again. So if you remember with groundwater, she asked you to vote on the groundwater section, that it is now adopted, that you
Okay.
approved this, you're done, you're completed.
Yeah.
Well, I wanna find out, what's your last update? Because we had one that we were, John was reading you the details of it and everything like that, you were incorporated in there, and it failed. I will make sure
So
that.
if something's missing from what I have here on the screen, let me know, because this is what I believe is most recent.
I'm encouraging that if it's on there, it should be eliminated because it failed.
It's
You were
not,
typing in.
Oh, anything that I typed in that failed, I deleted. Tonight, anything that I was writing in and the motion failed, I deleted.
Yeah, it would have been.
But I just wanted to have it in there so we knew what
Goal
was said.
2, objective E.
Because if I didn't put it in there and then it passed, then I would be trying to figure out what the heck we just voted on.
So
Yeah.
to the extent, and we ought to visit this at a later time, but to the extent that our direction from Angie is to make a final motion after all the other motions have been made, that we are adopting the revised document as our recommended, that I would move that we do vote for that.
And I'll second that, right?
Okay, all in favor? Yes, and I want to ask and clarify, how will we see the changes that we made tonight in the draft that goes out to the public that's posted?
I'm gonna, so every time we finish one of these, I put it in a PDF and I post it in the drafts on the website. So whatever's in the approved drafts on the website is gonna change whenever it's been updated with the date that it was done.
The date on, in the
Today.
document?
Yeah, I'll name it. Right now, this is named, August, it's called Environmental Natural Resources Hazards Draft, August 27th with CDB comments.
Okay,
my only concern, and it's not a great one, is that because this relates to other sections, primarily in this case, transportation, others are interrelated, wouldn't want to be precluded from revisiting something relevant at a later time in transportation, just because we've taken that position.
That we understand. That's gonna all come back to you.
Okay, that's
This,
all.
you're just, what they wanted to stop was the over and over again with the same sections. So at the end, you're gonna see this whole thing with the red marks again, and then you can look at the whole thing comprehensively and decide if it flips.
Okay. In regard to the over and over again with the sections, right? I take issue with that characterization. I don't think that that's what was going on, but, I'll leave that there for the record.
thank you, Scott. All right, so, I don't think we have any matters from board or staff. We've touched on everything throughout the meeting, and we will see you for some type of public input meeting.
We don't have to
Get a schedule.
Happening very quickly,
Okay.
but you'll have it quickly.
Motion
Sounds
to
great.
adjourn.
Second.
You guys.